Good morning. So, what I'm going to be doing today is a live Blu-ray DVD collection update. Now, on my movie channel, I've been doing these things monthly, and I haven't done one since February because they just take so long to do. These updates take forever to do, and because of that, it puts me behind on doing other things, and I just don't want to invest that much time into these updates right now. Not to say that I won't come back to them at some point because I really do love making them. I just don't have the time right now to do it. Also, don't mind my eye. I've been having eye issues for a little while, so a little swollen. But anyway, so what I thought about doing is doing the collection update live and doing them live periodically from here on out until maybe one day I'll have more time to do the Blu-ray updates the way that I used to like doing them. But let's jump into this. We're going to go in alphabetical order because I've already got them alphabetized. This is everything from uh, March to today, which is September 20th. This will probably be up on the 21st. Maybe, I don't know. But anyway, let's get started, shall we? Because it's a lot. First up is 33 with Antonio Banderas. I found this at the Dollar Tree and decided to get it. The case is kind of all warped and whatnot, so probably gonna get a new case for it at some point. But yeah, this is based on the Chilean miners who were buried alive following a catastrophic mine collapse. For 69 days, the team worked night and day to rescue the men as their families and the world waited for any sign of hope. I actually remember hearing about this story, and when the movie was coming out, I thought it looked pretty decent, but I didn't go out of my way to see it and never saw it. So I found it for $1. I was curious enough to check it out, and I still haven't watched it yet. I'm trying to work through watching stuff. I guess I didn't find a place to put these after I talked about them. From the horror pack, if you guys have watched any of my other videos, I was subscribed to the horror pack for quite a while, and I ended up canceling it. March, April, May would have been my last. The dog got a squeaky toy. May would have been my last month, I believe, was May. But yeah, because I think there's 3 horror packs in here, but one of them is 47 Meters Down, the Canadian release. This was a movie that I remember seeing in theaters and being surprised that I actually enjoyed it. I think they build tension pretty well. The underwater scenes are pretty well done. The sequel is all right. If I can find the sequel for really really cheap, I'll give the sequel a watch. But yeah, this is one I was kind of happy to get out of the horror pack. Next up from the Dollar Tree is 211 211 with Nick Cage. I know nothing about this one other than that Nick Cage is in it, and that's enough for me to sign on to any movie. I haven't gave this one a watch yet, but will probably at some point because of Nick Cage. Up next, we picked this up at a record store on vacation called the Rhythm Section in Gatlinburg, Tennessee. If you guys ever find your way, the faint dog sounds of the dog squeak. I know he brought in his chicken. If you're ever in Gatlinburg, Tennessee, check out the Rhythm Section, especially if you're a fan of horror. Their horror section is unmatched at any other store I've been to. But one of my wife's recommendations was 2001 Maniacs with Robert Englund, and this was super awesome. I loved this movie. This movie was a ton of fun. I do believe there is a Blu-ray of this, so if there is, I wouldn't mind upgrading at some point. But Robert Englund is wickedly fun. The film follows these 2 groups of I guess 3 technically of people going on spring break when they wind up in this town of Pleasant Valley during their annual barbecue celebration. And yeah, there's some crazy wackiness um, that happens in this movie, and it is super fun. This is a super campy, just really good time. horror flick. It's like one of those movies where it's like I could probably see myself watching this like once a Halloween because it's just such a blast. It's pretty short too. Like yeah, it's 87 minutes and it just flies by. But a lot of fun, a lot of goofy characters, really good time. One that I was super happy finally got a Blu-ray release, A Night at the Roxbury. This is one of my all-time favorite movies. I've seen this movie a bajillion times. I quote it all the time. I was just checking your tag as I thought, made in heaven. It's Will Ferrell, Chris Kattan. It's based off an SNL skit, and it's just super corny, super goofy, really dumb, but incredibly charming. And this is a movie I've watched since a little kid, and I find myself periodically watching it, and it always makes me chuckle. Like I said, I adore this movie. I'm so happy it finally came out on Blu-ray. From what I remember, it has all the same special features, so nothing really that crazy. Actually, I don't know if this, looking at the back of it, if it has some of the original SNL skits like the DVD did. I'll have to look at that. But very happy it finally got a Blu-ray. What is love? Baby, don't hurt me. Next from another one from the horror packs, my last couple horror packs, A Night in the Woods. This movie is terrible. It has Scoot, how do I pronounce his last name? Scoot McNairy, right? Really? You're not going to advertise for Scoot? There it is. Yeah, Scoot McNairy, who is a good actor and who has oh, this is a Blu-ray DVD combo. Oh, it says on the front. Who has quite a bit of experience, I would say, with found footage style movies, being in Monsters. But this one's garbage. So it's a found footage movie about Scoot McNairy, who's like filming everything. His character and his girlfriend, fiance, wife, I can't remember. They go and spend a night in the woods when they meet up with someone who is like they kind of play it off as a relative or a cousin or something of the girl. And Scoot gets jealous because there's some tensions there, and it is wickedly boring. There's like nothing that happens in this movie. There's a lot of like confessionals kind of thing where someone just has a camera. There's shots where the camera just sits and lingers. It's a story where the entire story could be told in 10 minutes, but they stretch it out to 80 some minutes, and it's awful. This is not good. Would not recommend. Up next, the one looks interesting. I'm planning on checking this out here soon. I found this at the Dollar Tree, and that is A Night of Horror, Nightmare Radio on DVD. It's a don't mind the dog. It's a anthology horror film that has looks like 8 different short films. Anthologies are rarely good, right? Like there's rarely a good anthology, but there's something about them that I love because it brings in a bunch of different talent, brings in a bunch of different styles, and I don't know. I'm almost always willing to sign up for an anthology, even though they're very rarely any good at all. But yeah, Nightmare Radio looks pretty interesting for $1. I'll check it out. Up next, a Psycho's Path. Get it? A psychopath. Um, so I actually started watching this one day, starring Quentin Rampage Jackson. I actually started watching this one day and didn't have time to finish it, and I've not come back to it yet because the 45, 50 minutes of it I've watched so far is awful. So basically, Quentin Rampage Jackson is a real psychopath because you should see the wig he wears in this thing. It is so bad. But anyway, so Rampage is arrested. He escapes and starts killing people in a town. That's the gist that that's the whole movie. And the town's got to stop him, right? There's not a whole lot going on in this one. Yeah, was not a fan so far of what I've seen. I will finish it at some point. When that point is, I do not know, but yeah, not what I saw so far, not good. Next up is a Quiet Place 2-pack, Quiet Place 1 and 2. I normally hate buying multi-packs, but I don't mind them if it's a trilogy, if it's a continuing series. I hate it when it's just like multiple movies that are like sci-fi or horror packs. And considering I didn't have Quiet Place 1 and I wanted to see Quiet Place 2, we weren't going to go out in theaters to see it. We were just going to wait for it to come out on home video. This was a good deal. And we did a double feature as Quiet Place 1 and 2, and they work really well as a double feature. Quiet Place 2 takes pretty much right up after Quiet Place 1, and like I said, it makes for a really good, just you could just watch A Quiet Place, just both on right back to back. I personally, while I have issues with Quiet Place 1, especially when it comes to some of the character decisions and character choices, I still think Quiet Place 1 has a really cool idea. I think it does it pretty well. It has really cool designed monsters. It builds tension very well, and I think it develops the characters and the family incredibly well. And A Quiet Place 2 does a lot of the same, but I don't think it's as good as 1, but I still really enjoyed 2. 2 picks up, like I said, right after 1. It has an amazing opening. The opening set piece in Quiet Place 2 is fantastic. And then when the film picks back up where kind of A Quiet Place left off, my issue is it kind of boiled down to characters being split apart. And again, we have some dumb decisions that are made. But again, it does a really good job of building characters. It does a really good job of building suspense and tension. And again, the monsters are wicked cool. So really, really enjoy both of those. Next up is a movie that I don't know. I saw this in the rhythm section, that place in Gatlinburg. I bought 2001 Maniacs for, and I went in that place I think 3 or 4 different times during the stint of our vacation. And I looked at this and picked it up and put it down every time and decided on the last day to come home with it. And that is a Serbian film on Blu-ray. I own 2 copies of this movie now. And I've only watched a physical copy of it once. I've watched this movie 3 times in my life, and 2 of those have been on YouTube. So yeah, a Serbian film is considered like one of the most hardcore films ever made. And I personally think it earned that title because there's some really messed up stuff in this movie that I've not really seen other films do. But there's a few reasons why I got this on Blu-ray. One, this film is actually pretty well made. When it comes to these disturbing movies, typically they're incredibly low budget. They look like crap. They're typically not very well put together movies, and that's not the case with this one. This one's shot really well. It's color graded really well. It has an amazing, amazing soundtrack. It has really strong performances. And again, it has a lot of directorial style to where it's like, I don't know if I'm going to watch this anytime soon, but it's nice to have the Blu-ray. Also, I found a Serbian film. I bought the DVD several years ago from the Rhythm section, found the Blu-ray there this time. So to actually find this movie in a physical store to buy it is kind of a story on its own. But the Blu-ray comes jam-packed with special features. Commentary with the director, commentary with a few of the actors, Q&A, Q&A, whatever a Serbian film exhibition is, behind the scenes, a preview at a Serbian documentary, which is a documentary coming out, I believe, about this film, photo gallery and trailers. And the DVD, if I remember right, just comes with the movie. So, and the box art is pretty awesome. So yeah, this was this is one, like I said, I picked up, put down a lot, but I ended up coming home with it. Up next is A Town Called Panic. I've yet to watch this, but this was a recommendation from a buddy of mine. It is the Canadian release that I had to buy off of eBay, and it's not cut properly. So you can see how the spine is, but if you look on the back, you can see the white where the paper's not cut properly. But everything I can see, this is not like a bootleg copy. I just think it was a printing error because everything seems legit. The disc seems legit. It all functions properly. And if this is, if I'm just gonna say this, if this is a bootleg, it is one of the best quality bootlegs I've ever seen. Um, but yeah, so I haven't watched this yet, but I've heard nothing but good things. It's been on my watch list for a long time, so gonna have to check that one out soon. Next up, I went into not Dollar Tree, Big Lots. Big Lots is a haunt of mine that I check out every once in a while because they typically don't get a lot of new stock. But if you go in every once in a while, stuff that they've had on the shelf for a long time that didn't sell will get dropped down to literally like quarters. Like I've gotten stuff for 50 cents, 75 cents from there before. So I do make it a frequent stop. But one time I went in there, the last time I went in there, they had a bunch of Tartan Asian Extreme. I always want to say Tartisan, but I know that's not it. Tartan Asian Extreme. This is a label that puts out a bunch of Korean, Japanese, Chinese horror. And although almost all of them are DVD, they are incredible quality. Super, super good releases. And I typically, this is like a label, if I see it for cheap, I'm going to grab it. Because most of these movies I've enjoyed. Now, I haven't watched Asia. I don't know how to pronounce it. I haven't watched this one yet. But yeah, like I think these are all like $3 a piece. So I'm gonna grab all of them. It's kind of got this cool like box. Um, DVD is roughly the same thing. But yeah, the artwork on the cover is just incredibly striking. So that was enough for me to grab it on top of being Pardon Asian Extreme. But yeah, it looks pretty good. I'm going to check it out at some point. Up next is Horror Pack number 57 exclusive After Dark. Again, a little bit of the remaining Horror Pack stuff. This one, if I remember right, was really bad because spring break for 7 college students is derailed with one wrong turn. A flat tire on a desert road leaves them stranded after dark in the company of a menacing drifter who may or may not be trying to help. Yeah, I remember this one now because the drifter, he's got like some like it's like Jesse James something, and Jesse James Youngblood, and it's funny because he looks rough, tough, big, muscular man, but he's got the weirdest, unmatching voice to his body. Either it's incredibly jarring. And I remember this movie being super boring, but I do remember there being a very, very graphic, violent, and disturbing scene toward the end of this movie. And yeah, outside of that, it's a bad movie, but there is one scene that will get you in this. I will say that. It's not one that I would super recommend, but there doesn't seem to be any special features either. But yeah, so there's that. Up next was a pretty fun Dollar Tree find, and that is Alan Partridge with Steve Coogan. I love Steve Coogan. He's one of my favorite British comedians, actors. I love him in the series The Trip. If you've seen any of the Trip movies, Steve Coogan and Rob Brydon, just they're super fun movies, and this is no different. Alan Partridge plays, oh, not Alan Partridge. Steve Coogan plays Alan Partridge, a radio jockey whose radio station is kind of shifting. They're going to be laying off some of the older folks, and then they lay off one played by what's his name? I've seen him in a bunch of stuff. Does it not say his name on the back of this? I don't think it does. I don't think it says his name back here. Oh, Colomini? Colmini? Meany? I don't know. Probably pronouncing that wrong. But he gets laid off, and so he comes and holds up the radio station hostage at gunpoint, and Alan Partridge is kind of just a bumbling idiot. And this is just a super enjoyable, fun movie. Like I said, Steve Coogan kind of ties this whole movie together, but I watched it years ago, and to find it at Dollar Tree, I was pretty happy. Another thing I was really happy about is I found some Draft House at the Dollar Tree. Amari and Sam. I've yet to watch this one. I want to soon. Unfortunately, the bottom of the case. Come on, light. You can kind of see it is broke. So gonna have to find a replacement case at some point. Got irreversible artwork in it. Draft House was a really cool label that was putting out these pretty cool. Comes with a little booklet. I guess I should watch, make sure there's not like anything bad in it. I think this movie's PG-13. I don't know. But anyway, not rated. The other could have been. It also doesn't shut all the way, so I'm gonna have to replace this. And I found Cheap Thrills that I picked up for a friend who actually ended up having a copy of it, so I gave it to another friend. But I found Cheap Thrills as well. But Draft House was a really cool label that was putting out some really interesting stuff, and unfortunately collapsed. And they don't exist anymore, and some of their stuff is wicked expensive. So if you can find anything by their label cheap, go ahead and get it, because you could always flip it. And yeah, I've yet to check this one out, but I'm planning on it at some point. I'm going to be saying that probably a lot this video. Another Dollar Tree, Anna the Apocalypse on DVD. This is a movie that my wife has been wanting to see, and we watched it, and neither one of us knew that this was a musical. It's a zombie apocalypse Christmas musical. And it's all right. It's pretty decent. I'm not a big fan of musicals, really at all. There's very few of them I really enjoy, but this one is kind of fun. Basically, they go to school, zombie apocalypse breaks out, and they just kind of fight to survive. And yeah, it's pretty decent. It's kind of got some comedy elements that land, some that didn't. It's got some good characters for sure, like Anna and the guy. It's this guy right here in the back. I can't think of his name, but they're really good, really well developed characters. Matter of fact, the other two in the front is as well. So it's pretty good characters. It's pretty good. Next up is I bought a cursed film, Antrim, Atrum. Not sure how to pronounce this. This is a movie that's like selling itself as like a cursed movie. I've heard things about this, but I've never watched it. And I know that there's a Blu-ray of this, but I found the DVD for $1. Actually, I found tons of copies of this on DVD for $1. And I've yet to watch it. Like I said, I've heard things about this, but none of them were actually like praising it. So, but yeah, I'll at some point. At some point. Next up is I can't remember if I bought this from a buddy or if he gave it to me. But I think this was part of a pile he was selling off. But Apocalypto, the re-release, because there was a copy of this beforehand that was out of print and wicked expensive. But yeah, Mel Gibson's Apocalypto. This just seems like an interesting movie. This like kind of this like Mayan civilization is an interesting period piece, area piece to look into. I just haven't gotten around to watching it yet because it's is it pretty long, ain't it? Yeah. 2 hours and 18 minutes isn't that long, but I want to watch this sometime soon. It looks cool. I've always thought it looked cool. I just never got around to watching it. Horror Pack exclusive number 59, Ashburn Waters. Again, not very good. Now, I canceled my Horror Pack because I just wanted to spend my money elsewhere. I really have no complaints with the Horror Pack. They delivered everything on time very quickly. Everything was really well packaged. And I still think like it's totally worth the subscription to get. I personally think there's some movies that you get more bad than good, I think. But it's a great service that the only reason why I canceled it is because I could be using that $25 elsewhere currently in my life. And I'm not opposed to signing back up for it later down the road. But Ashburn Waters, it's about this group of kids who go camping, and they go to this campground that's been shut down, and sure enough, there's something afoot here when they run across a creepy stranger, and people start dying off, and it's not very good. Bad special effects, bad acting, bad writing. It's just one of those movies where the budget creeps in and you can't get away from it. But the artwork is really cool. I love this poster. Whoever made this poster did an awesome job. But yeah, not great. Up next, also from the horror pack, The Ascent. And this wasn't very good either. This is a movie about a father who suffers from mental illness, whose son may or may not be possessed. And, the government kind of gets involved because of the father's behavior and stuff. I believe this is also the Canadian release. Again, awesome artwork. This is a really cool poster, right? It's cool. But yeah, it's not the best. I remember the performances being pretty decent. There was some cool like special effects and stuff, but again, it just felt like a story that was kind of drug out. And then the last from this little stack before I go get more, I found this at a flea market. I've been to flea markets before, but I've never really been movie hunting at a flea market. And I found it for $1, and that is James Cameron's Avatar with a really, really good shape slipcase. Like, this slipcase is in phenomenal shape. This is a movie I like. I like Avatar. I'm not in love with it. This is also it's just a 2-disc set. It's the DVD Blu-ray combo pack. It's not the one that comes with like a bajillion special features, although there are special features on this, maybe not, I don't know. But this is a movie that I think is good. That one had potential because of the story premise. The Ascent, yeah, it did have potential. It just kind of didn't do much with it. But Avatar, this is the one that's like, it's a good movie, but it's not like the most amazing thing ever. Like, it's just a solid 7.5, maybe an 8 on a good day. There's a lot of things about this movie I do like, but it's never been one that's like blown my mind of being like the greatest thing ever made. And I've been putting it off for a long time of getting it because I've seen it so much. Because when this thing came out on DVD, I was in high school, and it was like anytime we had a movie time, everybody wanted to watch this. So I got kind of burnt out on it, and so I've just never cared to try to pick it up. And I've always been like, well, if I'm going to get it, I'm going to get the nice set, right? Well, I came across it for $1, so dollar trumps all. Excuse me, puppy. I don't want to step on you. You don't got to move. I just don't want to step on you. Let me grab some more stuff. All right. Got a whole new stack of stuff. Like I said, this is going to take forever, so strap in. Up next, more Tardisan Extreme, Bad Blood, no cool slipcase or anything like that. Haven't watched it yet. These are recent. These Tardin, not Tardisan Brain, Tardin. These ones are newer. I haven't gotten around to them. These are some of the last things I picked up here recently. So haven't watched it yet, but it looks cool. Up next is Batman: The Long Halloween Part 1 and Part 2. I love how the artwork, I don't know, it's really cool. I was really excited for this. I love the DC animated stuff, the Warner Bros. Animated stuff. They've been pretty consistently good, in my opinion. And this is one that always really, honestly, I was really excited for. And after watching them, I love this. This was amazing. They work like A Quiet Place incredibly well. It's just one movie. Part 2 is not a sequel to Part 1. It's literally just, this is one film broken up into 2 movies. And they're great. This is honestly one of the best of the Batman animated, in my opinion. I loved the story. I thought it developed the mystery of of the killer really well. And on top of that is I really enjoyed the character gallery. I mean, you had a lot of villains in this movie that played key roles throughout the story. That was really fun to watch. All the voice acting was good, and this movie was not afraid to get dark. Like there's like some really like oh my god scenes in this movie. The action's handled really well. There's one scene in particular, I think it's in part 1, where Batman goes to like a Chinatown and runs across a Yakuza style gang and he's got to fight them. That fight scene was done incredibly well. It was animated really well. All the hits really was thunderous and really pounding. Um, just really, really well done. The animation, this is in line with some of the new Warner Bros. Where the lines are a lot thicker. The color palette is a lot more I wouldn't say drastic, but a lot more there's not as much gradient to it, I guess I should say. They stand out more. The colors are more poppy, more standout. And that's an art style that I've not been in love with since they've switched it. But I think it works pretty well in here. Maybe they've just been fine tuning it. I don't know. But it works really well in here. There are some moments where this animation does feel cheaper than when it does in the older stuff. And I definitely prefer the older animation style they've had over this kind of style, but still couldn't recommend these ones enough. These were awesome. Up next, a buddy of mine gave me his old copy of Basket Case. I'm excited to check this one out. This one always seemed like a really fun kind of body horror movie that has kind of been on my watch list for a while. And yeah, it looks pretty good. He has a piece of bubble wrap inside of it. Arrow put this out, and there's a copy of this that has a really cool kind of 3D-ish slipcase. But yeah, I'm excited to just check this out at some point. Looks good. Up next, I found some more Maneater stuff at the Big Lots for about, I can't remember if this was $1.50 or $3, but I found Behemoth. These Maneater series, they're basically made for Sci-Fi TV, the Sci-Fi channel. And so far, there's only been really one of them that I would actually probably recommend checking out. But I've kind of become obsessed with finding these and collecting them. I found them in FYE, I found them at Dollar Tree, I found them at Dollar General, I found them at Big Lots. So I've been kind of going through collecting these. Not all of them I've been able to find the slipcase, unfortunately. And I've yet to watch this one, and I'm assuming it's probably not going to be very good. But I want to get all these. I really want to get all the Maneaters. Maybe if I do, I'll make a video on it. Coffee break. This next one is Blind Spotting. I found this at Half Price Books for like $5 or so. And this is a movie that I was always interested in seeing and just never got around to it. And after buying it, the case is cracked. I have to replace the case on this one. After buying and watching it, this movie is fantastic. Both lead performances, David Diggs and Raphael Castle. I'm probably Castle. I'm probably pronouncing those wrong, and I apologize. I didn't pre-look up names. Were both fantastic. They were both fantastic leads. The story follows these two guys as they work for a moving company, while his character is trying to stay on the straight and narrow. He's on probation. He's getting off of probation, and then he is kind of the antagonist. He kind of is the reason that the other character may or may not get thrown back into jail. And it follows these two characters, and it follows a lot of social issues, a lot of like police injustice toward people of color. It follows white privilege, gentrification, and just kind of the struggles in society of people of both poverty and of minority. and it tells these in a very not in your face way, but also kind of in your face. There's a scene. Ethan Embry plays a cop in this movie. There's a scene with the one of the main characters and Ethan Embry, that I believe, if I'm not wrong, um, Raphael. I know I'm pronouncing names wrong. Him, kind of get into like in a face to face interaction. I don't know how else to say it. That is just mind blowing. I mean, it really is. It's absolutely stunning. Visually, this movie looks great. It's shot really well. It's edited really well. It's paced incredibly well. I couldn't recommend this movie enough. I mean, I really can't. It's just such a good character piece. A lot of good moments. Dollar Tree, Blood Moon, not the magic card, but the movie. I'm a sucker for these like crappy Dollar Tree movies. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's just $1. But I'm willing to like just buy anything. This is a werewolf movie set in like Wild West times. I've yet to watch it, but it comes with a 49-minute behind the scene video. So that's kind of cool. I'm always a big fan of these like big behind the scenes stuff. Have not watched this yet, but I want to. I'm a fan of werewolf stuff, Wild West stuff, so hopefully it's pretty good. Up next, another Dollar Tree find. You're going to be hearing that a lot. Blue Iguana with Sam Rockwell, Ben Schwartz, and Phoebe Fox. I'm a huge Sam Rockwell fan. That was Dollar Tree horror is just your aesthetic. Apparently, I'm just a cheap horror guy. But yeah, I don't know anything about this movie other than that Sam Rockwell's in it, and that was enough to sign me up because Sam Rockwell is an incredibly underrated actor. He's not been in not everything he's done has been great. I mean, he's typically always great, but not all the movies he's in are good. And I don't know about this one. I have not watched it yet. At some point, I'll watch it. It's not very high on the list though. More Tartan, but The Booth, another Big Lots pickup for like I think $3. Yeah. I mean, I don't really have much to say about this. I've not watched it yet. But the label and the price at some point. So July was the Criterion month, the Criterion sale, and I picked up quite a bit of Criterion stuff. One of those being Bottle Rocket. So typically with every Criterion sale, I try to grab something from Akira Kurosawa and something from Wes Anderson, because those are two directors I really love and I want to see more of their stuff. Bottle Rocket is the first Wes Anderson movie, and I've yet to watch this. I want to watch it here soon. I would like to watch it with my wife because she's kind of been enjoying Wes Anderson stuff, and I've heard Bottle Rocket's kind of like the mixed one of where, you know, it's the first one, not really developed that style or you know what I mean. But some of the movies I've shown her, she's enjoyed, so maybe we will watch Bottle Rocket at some point. But pretty good. Not pretty good. Wes Anderson's pretty good, but I want to see Bottle Rocket. I'm happy I grabbed it. I can't remember if I got this one at Big Lots or Dollar Tree, but I know I got it for like $1 or so, either place, because it's Brokeback Mountain. This is a movie. I have a scratcher poster where when you watch the movie, you scratch it off. It's got a symbol underneath it, and it's like a 100 movie bucket list kind of thing. And Brokeback Mountain was on that. And Brokeback Mountain has just seemed like a movie my entire life that I'm just not interested in. It tells a story that I felt like I probably couldn't connect with, and it's just a two character piece drama story that's 2 hours and 15 minutes long. Not exactly selling me. And it's Ang Lee, which he's made some good stuff. But this might be my favorite from him. I really love this. I kind of feel foolish waiting so long for it. Personally, I think this is Heath Ledger's best performance. I think he is just He's what makes this movie so great. Jake Gyllenhaal's really good. Don't get me wrong. So is Michelle Williams, but Heath Ledger is like on a whole nother level, to the point to where it's like this is one of the best performances of all time. Like if you're gonna ask somebody, what's some of the best performances, I'm gonna throw in Heath Ledger as Enos Delmar in this movie because he was just phenomenal. The story between these two cowboys going out on Brokeback Mountain to herd sheep and falling in love with each other and having this kind of very homunculus, I think that's the right word, right? Turmoil style relationship for years. I mean, years. Both of them are married, both of them have kids, but yet they still get together a couple times a year to go fishing. And kind of the toll it takes on both of them. I mean, both of them kind of end up leading very destructive lives because of their secret and their, I guess, Enos's more or less not willingness to accept that. And yeah, it's horrible. It's super depressing, but it's an incredibly well made movie. Great visuals, amazing performances. Couldn't recommend this enough. Now, this is a pick from my wife when she saw this was coming out on Blu-ray, and it's kind of funny. This is leading up Brokeback Mountain, but I'm a cheerleader. This is hilarious. This is a movie about a girl who is gay being sent to a gay conversion camp, and it is a comedy. One of the teachers, pastors, I don't know what you want to call him, is RuPaul, who is actually hilarious in this movie. Yeah, this movie's just super funny. It's got that weird like late 90s, early 2000s, which when did this come out? They're not going to tell me on the back here. Is it really not going to tell me what year this came out? 99. There it is. Um it has that aesthetic. If you have seen any movies or lived through that time, you know exactly what I mean. But the aesthetic of this movie is awesome. They use color really well in this movie. It's very pastel and bright and super enjoyable. And there's some really funny moments in this movie. I really enjoyed this one. Had a good time with it. This was put out by Lionsgate. I thought this was put out by like Shout Factory or something. But yeah, super recommend it. This is a good pick. Up next, I grabbed I think out of Best Buy's $5 bin, maybe. But Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, the classic with Paul Newman and Robert Redford. And I have yet to watch this. I've never watched this in my entire life. It is one that has always been high on my list. I'm pretty sure this is on the scratcher. I'm not entirely sure on the bucket list scratcher poster. But yeah, Butch Cassidy and Sundance Kid. I'm excited to watch it at some point. I know I'm going to be saying that a lot, but yeah. You know how it is. You buy more than you watch. Up next is Butt Boy. This is a movie my wife heard about thanks to the powers of TikTok. This movie is phenomenal. Completely blown away by it. She told me the premise. Detective Fox loved work and alcohol. After he goes to AA, his sponsor Chip becomes the main suspect of his investigation for a missing kid. Fox believes people are disappearing up Chip's butt. And it's called Butt Boy. I'm sold, right? Like I'm checking this movie out. And then you watch it and you're like, this has no right to be this good. Because the story is exactly that description. But this absolutely outrageous story is played 100% straight. This is played incredibly straight. It's not played as a comedy. Obviously, it's a comedy. The absurdity is hilarious. But because it stays so fixated on playing this as I see a common theme, wife recommends is awesome. So far, um, but this plays it so straight that it is absolutely amazing. This is such an absurd movie that is so good. If there's any movie out of this entire set that I could probably, out of everything we're going to talk about today, that I could probably be like, you should please check at least one thing out, this would have to be up there for that pick, because this is so good. It's so funny. I've already recommended it to like most of my friends, and I honestly can't wait to watch it again. Up next, this is a Dollar General find for $3. It's a winner of 3 Academy Awards, which is why I grabbed it, and that is Camelot, starring Richard Harris. But yeah, I don't know anything about this. It was $3, won some Academy Awards. That was enough for me to grab it. I have not watched it yet, but I will soon. Up next is Maltese's Carnival of Blood, if I'm pronouncing that right, on Arrow. This was given me by a friend who cannot wait to hear my opinion on it. Unfortunately, he's going to have to wait a little bit because I've yet to watch it. It, too, also comes with irreversible artwork that is super sweet. I will watch this sometime here soon. I am curious to check it out. But he also gave me this, not with a case, but from Shout Factory, Crazy Mama and the Lady in Red. The loose disc, but I'm going to keep it in this case for now. Maybe I'll make a case for it. But yeah, he also gave me that. So pretty interesting. I want to check this out at some point. The movie's inside. I'll check out at some point too. Just got to get around to it. But yeah, after his big time recommendation saying this is probably one of his favorite horror movies from the 70s, I definitely want to check it out, because that's like his main thing he watches is horror movies from the 70s and 80s. So to say that's one of his favorite definitely makes me pretty curious. Up next is the Lou Diamond Phillips Jersey Devil movie Carney, another entry in the Maneater series. Out of all the Maneater movies that are in existence, this is probably my number one I want to watch the most. So when I saw this one, I was actually pretty excited. Big Lots grab like $3. Have not watched it yet. I'll have to watch it sometime. But yeah, hopefully it's good. The Jersey Devil movie. Up next, Dollar Tree Cartel 2045 with Danny Trejo. Sci-fi movie with Danny Trejo. I'll take it. Not very good. It's got some really bad CGI. Danny Trejo is fun. Story is stupid. Basically, Danny Trejo leads a cartel who has these mechbot robot things to fight for him. This group of cops kind of try to take him down, and you know what I mean? This is totally worth a watch. Very reminiscent of Planet Terror from the Emerald Gore Society. You're wrong. This does not remind me of Planet Terror at all. There's no zombies in this. It doesn't even feel like a grindhouse. But, yeah, I mean, I watched it. Not, Danny Trejo's fun. More Tartan, Carved. That's just a creepy cover, right? Not watched this one yet. Curious to check it out. This one I found at Dollar General, for like $2.85 or $3.95. I can't remember, one of the two. But this is a movie I've not seen since a kid, and I remember watching this in theaters, and I believe I had this on VHS, although I'm not entirely sure. Well, it would have probably been DVD at that point, but I think I had this when I was younger, but I'm not sure. That is Cats and Dogs. And we rewatched this not long ago, and this is surprisingly still really fun. The CGI is bad, but there's some really fun moments in this. Jeff Goldblum is the father, who's is pretty fun. So basically, what it is, Jeff Goldblum's allergic to dogs. He's trying to find the cure for dog dandruff, or however you want to say it. And the main puppy is voiced by Tobey Maguire, so that's kind of fun. Basically, they get a puppy, and the neighborhood dogs kind of recruit him as a spy. and they're fighting basically a war on cats, and the cats want to stop Jeff Goldblum from creating the um, antidote, the cure, so people will love cats more than dogs. And it is goofy and it is super fun. It's not a great movie by any means, but it is a fun movie, and sometimes that's all you need. Let me grab some more. Oop. All right, we got some more stuff. Like I said, this is going to take forever. Up next, more Tartan Asian Extreme, Cello. Yet to watch it. Another one I found at the flea market we were at for $1. Um, oh, okay, that's broken egg. Chicken Little. I actually rewatched this not long ago before I bought the Blu-ray. Um, and this is just kind of a dumb movie. It's not very good. Um, but it's not awful. And for $1, I'm more than happy to have this. Like I said, it's not great. The case is cool, nice and shiny. But yeah, I mean it's $1. It's not a bad little animation. Speaking of bad, another one from the horror pack, Child of Satan, ripping off the Rosemary's Baby kind of cover. I don't know what it is with them trying to rip off that cover so much. Sorry, I didn't mean to hit the mic. But yeah, I mean this is just basically Rosemary's Baby. This is really bad. Like super super bad. Would not recommend this at all. There are some funny bad CG moments. Like for some reason they CGI out windows to had like this really fake looking like storm effects. It's kind of funny. But yeah, this movie's awful. Basically it's Rosemary's Baby. Woman gets pregnant. There's an evil cult. He gives birth, and Child of Satan. It's also called Nero on IMDb, and if you look it up, you can see the rating and completely understand why. Um, yeah, would not recommend this. It's one of those movies too where every scene nothing happens, but it's just characters talking about nonsense, and they're just spouting off the dialogue from the script. They're not actually acting. Up next is Child's Play. Still wrapped. We're probably gonna give this to a friend or something, or I don't know. We're gonna do something with this one. It's got the kind of the cool Day of the Dead cover. I can't remember actually how to say that. But we have all the Chucky movies and the really cool box set already. So if we didn't, this would have been a cool one to get. I got this in the horror pack. I should say that. I got this in the horror pack. This would have been a cool one to get from the horror pack. But we actually did rewatch the original Child's Play, and it's pretty awesome. It works really well as both a kind of a campy, fun horror movie, but also having some genuinely creepy moments. Um, yeah, just it's just good stuff, honestly. Uh, I don't know what else to say about it. Little boy gets a toy named Chucky. He names it Chucky because a serial killer died and used voodoo to transport his body into the doll, and that's your whole setup. Pretty good. Would definitely recommend it if you've not seen it. It's a horror classic for a reason. Oh yes, I forgot about this one. Uh, Chinese speaking vampires. I found this at Walmart for $10. You're gonna tell me with the artwork and cover like that and a title like Chinese speaking vampires that I'm not gonna be all over this? Come on. Um, it's hilarious and bad. I don't know if I have this on my IMDb though. If I had this on my list. I always make a list of like every release of that year I watched in that year, and then I do like a best of. But yeah, so this is Chinese speaking vampires. This is a terrible movie, but it's kind of so bad it's good, right? It kind of borders into that line of stuff. Um, I don't think I do. I don't think I have. I don't have it on this list. All right, note to self: add that to this list. Chinese speaking vampires. Wait, I thought I just. Oh well. Basically, this one's pretty fun. Basically, what it is there's a group of vampires, and then there's some vampire hunters, and one of the vampires leads a night school that teaches Chinese. And apparently, once you're bitten by the vampire, you can speak fluent Chinese. I don't. That's stupid. So anyway, he turns his class into Chinese, and they band together to fight off the vampire hunters. Um, that's basically the movie, and there's a lot of really corny effects, a lot of really corny moments, a lot of unintentional humor, a lot of intentional humor that backfires. It does not land. Some really bad acting, and it's just goofy. It's an 80-minute romp. Um, it's bad but enjoyable. Exactly. This is not one that I would like super recommend. But I also don't feel bad about spending $10 on it. So, Chinese speaking vampires, not awful. One of the Tartan Asian extreme movies I was really excited about getting, and that is Cinderella. I have wanted to see this movie for a long time because that cover art is awesome. That is such a cool cover art. Yet to watch it. I've not watched it yet, but it is on my list to watch here soon, and I will be watching it here soon. Also, I guess it is all these Tartan movies come with this. The chapters. Remember when DVDs used to come with a pamphlet with the chapter breakdowns? They still do. Of course, these are older, but you know, cool to see. But yeah, I'm excited to check this one out. Up next is a birthday gift from a buddy of mine, and that is Raro Video's release of Clowns. It's kind of got a damaged bottom here. That's how it was shipped like that. But yeah, so I don't know much about Raro Video, however you say it. I just know they're a this is what the kind of the inside's like. I just know that they're like a I'm gonna flip through this in case there's nudity or something. Well, it comes with a booklet, and there is nudity. So, oh, that's cool. It comes with like a little bookmark. So I just drop it. There is some. It's not real nudity. It's drawing nudity, but there still is. So, but it comes with a pretty thick booklet of stuff. Let me find you. So, like, not saying every page is bad, but I don't know much about this. I love the artwork and stuff on it. Something just fell out of it. But yeah, it kind of sucks. The bottom's kind of bent up, but it is what it is. But I am excited to check this one out at some point. It looks pretty cool. It looks so weird. It looks like something that I would really enjoy. So I have to watch it at some point. But I do appreciate that for a birthday gift. Up next, another one I found from Dollar Tree. I found this the same time I got Cats and Dogs for the same price. Well, I know it's the same price as Cats and Dog. It was either $2.85 or like $3.95 or something like that. But Corpse Bride, and I had never seen this one. This has never been one I've seen. I really enjoyed it. It's a musical, but it's kind of that big band kind of New Orleans jazz style music. So pretty enjoyable on the music front. Basically, it's a Romeo and Juliet story. Johnny Depp plays right? It's Johnny Depp. Oh, Danny Elfman did the music. No wonder the music's good in this. Doesn't say. All it says on the front. And Helen Bonham Carter. Bonham Carter. Basically, Johnny Depp's character is going to get married. Their families are arranging a wedding for basically business reasons, money reasons. Johnny Depp kind of runs off and accidentally marries a corpse bride and gets sent to the underworld, and shenanigans ensue. And yeah, this is a stop animation. It's a Tim Burton movie. Tim Burton is, for one, has a really unique kind of gothic style that he's kind of been known for. This one kind of embodies that style really well. and it's beautifully animated. I mean, stop animation when it's done well is just completely mind blowing and astounding. And yeah, definitely recommend it. Oh no, Crazy Samurai 400 V1. You want to talk about one of the most disappointing movies of the entire year? You're looking at it. So, Crazy Samurai 400 V1 is basically the gimmick of the movie is there's a 77-minute one take action sequence. And from what I can tell is it is a true one take. But it feels every bit of that 77 minutes because it is awful. So basically the setup of the premise is there's this clan where this samurai Musashi assassinates one of the leaders, and then the clan goes after him. That ensues the 77-minute one take, the 400 versus 1. But the problem with this movie is Hot Mess Express. Exactly. It is a hot mess of a movie. The opening scene is really cool. It's shot very well. It has a very good looking style to it. And then when it cuts to the 77-minute One Piece, one, they don't match color correction. And two, it definitely is not the same camera because the quality of the camera goes whoop right downhill. And it is very jarring to the point where it's like, is this even the same movie? Then during the 77-minute One Piece, this had to have been like the second or third take they did. Because for one, all the costumes look really bad. All the blood is CGI. There's no blood on the clothes. You can see people in the background that are dead get up and join the back of the group to fight again. As the set piece goes on, you can start to recognize characters that get killed over and over and over and over again. You can also start to recognize the kill pattern because Musashi, this master samurai, only has a few attacks. He has a gut slash, he has a leg slash, and he has a head bonk, where he basically bonks him in the head. And you can choreograph, like you can actually go, he's going to do this to this person. And you can almost do it with 100% accuracy, especially with the head bonk, because everybody he bonks in the head has a headpiece. And so you can go, he's going to hit him in the head. You can do it with like 99% accuracy. You can watch him go bonk, and they fall, and they get back up. Then we have these long break pieces where he stops and gets water. Like there'll be this bamboo shoot water thing, and like a new sword or a way to clean a sword, or something like that. So you have these breaks, and then it'll come down to like a boss fight, and the boss will walk in and be like blah blah blah, and then dies instantly. There's no fight to it. It's just an instant kill. It is awful. The 77-minute one take is incredibly sloppy. It's in super bad. And then to add salt to the wound, after the 77-minute disaster, it has an ending set piece where it is filmed like an actual movie with actual choreography, actual like a good camera, and you watch it and you go, and they actually use blood effects, they actually use stuff like that, and you watch this ending set piece and you go, that was actually really good. Why did you waste our time with this 77-minute take when you could have just made the entire movie like this? This is a movie where its gimmick is actually what ruins the movie. If they would have just shot this like a regular movie, it would have been so much better. Maybe if they would have put more thought or effort into the 77-minute one take, it would have been better. But yeah, sloppy hot mess. Would not recommend. I mean, it's funny. We were laughing at it quite a bit. Another one from the horror pack, Critters Attacks. I've not watched it. I've not even opened it yet. I want to get the Scream Factory Critters box set before I watch it. I've recently rewatched Critters 1. I've watched in my lifetime either Critters 2 or 3, but I've not watched them in a long time, and I'm not watching this until I watch the other ones. I don't like just watching random set pieces, even if they're not connected. Alright, moving on. Up next, Crow Zero by Takashi Miike, one of my favorite directors of all time. I found this one at Half Price Books for like $10, I think, and I grabbed it because it's Takashi Miike. And this one is super fun. It's basically about this like gang school set in a high school where basically it's broken up into violent gangs, and nobody has taken complete control of the school until this new challenger has appeared, and he's kind of gathering up all of his gangsters to take over the school. It's super fun. The fight scenes are wickedly over the top, very anime style. And Takashi Miike is the right director to handle that. Takashi Miike, if you've not seen any of the other films, very gonzo, very wild, and he handles these very cartoonish fight scenes very, very well. And that's no different with Crow Zero. Crow Zero is not really played up as a comedy that much either. It's more played straight-faced with these very goofy action set pieces that is a lot of fun to watch. The performances are all pretty good, and it's basically like a high school crime thriller. So, for a movie that's 2 hours and 10 minutes, this did not feel it at all. It's very quick paced, very, very good. I enjoyed this one quite a bit. Yeah, I don't ever hear anyone talking very much about this one when it comes to Takashi Miike's films, and this is one I would definitely recommend. There is a sequel to this that has not been given a U.S. release yet, which is sad. Up next, I think I only got a few things from Severin here recently, but one of those is Day of the Beast. This is a movie that the artwork alone has kind of made me interested on it enough to want to check it out. I've heard good things about it before, and I bought the shirt with it as well because it was cool. But yeah, so Day of the Beast is basically about a priest who believes the Antichrist is going to be born on Christmas Eve, I believe. It's a Christmas movie, put it that way. So he recruits a satanic, I wouldn't say satanic, I guess, but a metalhead who runs a record store, and a television host who does like a psychic TV star, a psychic TV star, to help him find the Antichrist, while this like satanic cult is trying to stop them. And it is kind of a horror comedy. Very cool Spanish film. Alex de la Iglesia. If I'm pronouncing his name wrong, I apologize. Really cool. Definitely would recommend it. It's got a pretty unique vibe to it. Up next, I know I bought this one from a buddy of mine, but The Day the Earth Caught Fire. I've yet to watch it, but that artwork's cool. I've heard good things about this one. It's fairly highly rated on IMDb. It's like at a 7 something. But yeah, so when he was selling off some stuff, this was part of it, and so I grabbed it and just have not watched it yet. Excuse me. Up next is Death Ranch, The Ranch of Death. This is a movie we found on DVD. I don't believe it has a Blu-ray. At Walmart for $10. And let me read you the synopsis, and you tell me if you'd buy it. 1970s USA. 3 African-American siblings, Brandon, Angela, and Clarence, are on the run from the police. They take refuge at an abandoned Tennessee ranch with plans to lay low for a couple weeks. But as nightfall, Brandon discovers their hideout is actually the hunting grounds of a cannibalistic Ku Klux Klan cult. And it is not long before the siblings themselves are attacked and captured by the demented cult. Right? Like, that sounds like such a good time. And it is and it isn't. It's both. Yes, there are some good moments. For the most part, the acting's not very good. The cannibalistic hillbillies are pretty funny. They create some really funny moments. Surprisingly, the special effects and the blood effects are pretty good in this movie. The movie's decently shot, I think, but there is quite a bit of downtime in this movie. And yeah, it just doesn't go as crazy as you would hope, unfortunately. So I just wish it kind of went further into the absurdity, kind of dive more into the camp of it. But yeah, Still not awful though. And I don't know if I have that one on IMDb on my list either. So let me pull that one up. Yeah, Death Ranch, not bad for $10. Up next is The Deadly Mantis. Giant monster movie. I bought this from a friend of mine. Same person I bought the other stuff from. Let me get this back. But yeah, it's just a big kaiju movie. Old black and white 50s kaiju movie. And I've come to really enjoy these I really enjoy these kind of 50s sci-fi-esque horror movies. Yeah, Deadly Mantis is good. I mean, it's all right. It's nothing like groundbreaking or amazing, but it does have some fun moments. The mantis looks pretty cool. Um, but if you've seen any kind of these movies, you know exactly what you're going to get. You're going to get majority of the movie is science, military jargon, and then the last like 20 minutes you're going to get monster mayhem, and that's pretty much the same. Up next is an Earl Flynn movie that I found at Dollar General for $3 or $4, and that is Dodge City. I know nothing about this other than it is a 30s Western, late 30s Western movie with Earl Flynn. And I'm not very familiar or immersed in this era of movies. So for cheap, why not? I just have not watched it yet. Ooh, finally. This was a cool grab. There's a used like video game record store that's not um I wouldn't really call it local, but not super far away for me. About a 45-50 minute drive, but we find ourselves up in that area quite a bit. And so I checked that place out quite a bit, and that is Dragon Ball Z Resurrection F. I found this for I think he had this one kind of priced for like $8 or $9. So a little more than normal for Blu-rays. He typically sells all Blu-rays for $4.99, I believe. But I find some good stuff every once in a while. But Resurrection F is awesome. It is the follow up to Dragon Ball Z Born of Gods, or Battle of Gods. I can't remember. It was one of the two. But they were kind of this new wave of Dragon Ball Z that led into Super. And from my understanding, Super is kind of like the first bit of Super is this movie and the other movie in one. But I've been putting off getting Resurrection F forever. I actually enjoy Resurrection F more than Battle or Born, whatever, the God one. Frieza to me is just such an awesome villain. He's my favorite DBZ villain. And my biggest issue with this movie is the ending. I'm not going to spoil it very much, but this movie set up such an amazing character resolution for Vegeta. Vegeta was set up for this movie have such an amazing moment, and they couldn't give it to him. They had to give it to Goku, which is super frustrating because, like I said, it could have brought Vegeta's character full circle, and they just didn't do it. And as a fan of Dragon Ball Z, it was very irritating. The movie's still great, but the ending is incredibly frustrating. Up next, I bought this off Amazon for $5, and it's Bo Burnham's directorial debut, 8th Grade. We just recently watched Bo Burnham's Inside, and I loved it, so I was kind of curious. I've been curious about this movie for a while, but after watching Inside and seeing it drop in price on Amazon to $5, I was like, you know what? Today's the day. We'll check out 8th Grade, and it's really good. It's super cringy though. Basically, the film follows Kayla, played by what's her name? LZ Fisher, I think is how you say it. Who she's moving into high school and she's trying to be comfortable with herself. She makes these like YouTube vlog videos of basically giving advice to people, and then she tries to use her own advice in her daily life, and it kind of always backfires. And it creates some incredibly cringe-inducing moments. This movie is so full of cringe. But it's really good. It kind of shows the life that these kids are growing up in with social media, kind of this whole different perspective of self-worth, worth, and your self-image because everything's online. So you can kind of have this fake facade online, but then, you know, you have your real life as well. And being a kid and not really trying to understand that and trying to figure that out. And kind of just a coming of age and coming of self kind of movie. And it's really well directed. Bo Burnham, I'm really curious to see what else he does in a sense of a narrative feature. Really good. Up next, my buddy of mine gave me a older copy of Event Horizon, which is cool because I've never seen this. I've always wanted to. It's always been one of them. It's been on my sci-fi list, directed by Paul W.S. Anderson. Um, I've just never seen it. Scream Factory put out a copy of this. Um, so if I really enjoy it, I'll upgrade to the Scream Factory edition. But yeah, excited to check that one out at some point. We found this one at Walmart a long time ago. I think this was a March pickup. But Extraordinary Tales. This is a anthology animation on Edgar Allan Poe stories. The centerpiece being a raven telling stories in a graveyard of the Edgar Allan Poe stories. And you have a litany of different voice actors, different directors, to create some really unique and interesting animation styles and animation set pieces. There's a whole segment, I think, with Bela Lugosi that was recorded like years ago. Yeah, just really cool, really interesting stuff. If you're a fan of Edgar Allan Poe or animation in general, this is one I definitely recommend. Another Big Lots grab. I've yet to Goo-Gone off the sticker, but that is Eye of the Beast, $3 from Maneater series. Really hard to get off the slipcase, but this one has James Vanderbeek in it. Yeah, yet to watch it, but James Van. Okay, I thought Vanderbeek was one word, not two. But yeah, haven't watched it yet. But more Maneater. I'm just planning on getting Maneater stuff. And then I grabbed this one from Barnes and Noble. It was on sale for $10 and it was like 30% off or whatever. But Stanley Kubrick's Eyes Wide Shut. I've yet to watch this. This release is weird though, because the insert, the artwork and stuff, this is incredibly grainy to the point to where it looks like a bootleg. It's like a low resolution. So it kind of looks like a bootleg. But yeah, I've never seen Eyes Wide Shut. It's one of the few Stanley Kubricks I've yet to see. And it, from everything I've heard about it, it's probably going to be one of my favorite Kubricks. I mean, it just follows a storyline that I find incredibly, excuse me, interesting on its own. So I'll check out Eyes Wide Shut at some point. What's holding me back is, excuse me, it being a 3-hour movie. Kind of makes it a little bit intimidating. Ugh. Grabbing some more stuff. Making our way the only way we know how. A Criterion pickup from the Criterion sale for my wife, Fast Times at Ridgemont High. I do own this on Blu-ray. I own the regular edition. But we picked it up on Criterion for the Criterion sale because my wife loves this movie. I would like to rewatch it, but I remember not being a huge fan of it. Um, nice little booklet comes with it as well. Criterion puts out awesome releases. And I'm normally not a double like dipper on movies, but I'm not opposed to rebuying movies on Criterion. But yeah, Fast Times at Ridgemont High. A lot of people consider it a classic. I, like I said, not the biggest fan of it, but my wife loves it. Another movie that would be up there of me saying if there's any movie in this collection you need to watch, it'd be this one. This is currently my number one of 2021, 2021, and that is The Father with Anthony Hopkins. You can and Olivia Colman. You can argue that this is a 2020 movie. I go off of widest US release, which would make this a 2021 movie. But this movie is devastating and amazing. You know, I said something about Brokeback Mountain with Heath Ledger. I would say that was if someone's gonna ask me what are the greatest performances of all time, I gotta also throw in Anthony Hopkins in this movie because he is phenomenal at this movie. At his age, I believe he's in his like somewhere in his 80s. To pull off a role like this is absolutely stunning. I mean, it really is. Um, so basically, the movie follows Anthony Hopkins, who has dementia, and the film is shot and edited from his perspective, which I've never seen anything like this done before. I'm not saying it hasn't, I just haven't seen it. And the editing is done so well to kind of show you what he is going through that it amplifies the performance of Anthony Hopkins. You connect so much stronger with him as a character. But you also get the side pieces of what's going on in the family and how it's affecting the family. And it is just such a well written, well edited movie with amazing performances, some great visual moments. I can't praise this movie enough. I really can't. This is just such a phenomenal movie. Um, I've never, like I said, I've never seen anything like it. And this is not a fun movie to watch. This is incredibly heartbreaking. It's incredibly sad. But it is utterly captivating. Super recommend The Father. Up next, another one I got from that record store in Tennessee at the Rhythm Shop. Father's Day. Unbeknownst to me, I have been collecting a bunch of movies that is put out by this group who are making these movies. Let me see their names. I know Tromo is a part of this one, but Astrong. It's like a little bit of a group of filmmakers, and I ended up actually buying a bunch of their stuff this month unintentionally. Not this month, this update. But Father's Day was one of my found. This just looked like a fun movie, and unfortunately, it was not as fun as I was hoping it would be. So basically, there's a Father's Day killer, and there's a boy who grows up, um, who wants to take vengeance on the Father's Day killer, and yeah, he teams up with a pastor and just this he's like a prostitute, I think, wasn't he? I think he was a prostitute. Yeah, and a male prostitute to hunt down the Father's Day killer. And it's all right. There's some fun moments for sure. There's some moments that I definitely don't think were that fun. It's played off very grindhouse aesthetically, um, very Planet Terror-ish. Better than Tarantino's Death Proof is what film school rejects say. Absolutely not. Not even close. Not even close. Not even the same caliber of movie. But I mean, it's fun. It has its moments. My problem is there's like a half an hour after the movie should have ended. There's a point in this movie where it's like, okay, that's a decent end, and then it just keeps going, and the last like half an hour of this movie is so drug out. Um, yeah, I mean, I'm not mad that I got it. I got this one at a half price books, and that is Feed the Light. This is put out by Intervision, which I don't know if they're owned by Severin or if it's a company partner, but it comes with this cool Severin catalog, with a bunch of stuff in it, you know. Um, but yeah, so anyway, uh, this is a cool little Swedish horror film, um, with a very unique and really cool style of a visual aesthetic. Very grainy, very 8 millimeter ish, 16 millimeter ish, with this very blown out whites, very mashed blacks in this film. create like this really cool aesthetic style that also helps with the story, because the story is a woman goes into this facility to get her child back, and in this facility, basically the light, uh I don't know if it's the light or if it's the darkness, but there's like this light particles that are basically, I don't want to say killing people, but like it's like a parasite, I guess. I don't know. It's very strange. It's this kind of a dense movie, but it creates this really unique visual style, and there's a lot of mystery, but the film doesn't really explain a whole lot. And while there is things open to interpretation, my biggest issue is this feels like a movie that was drawn out. It's only a 78-minute movie, very short movie, but this could have easily been a 20-30 minute short film. And I think it would have served itself a lot better, because there's a few moments that just feel really drug out, like it was kind of drug out for runtime. But I wouldn't mind trying this one out again. It is pretty cool, and like I said, visually awesome. So would recommend. Another one, I found this at a used like a game store, I guess you could say. They sell a lot of Magic cards. I went there for Magic cards and found this for really cheap, and that is First Man, with Ryan Gosling, directed by Damien Chazelle. And this is a movie I've wanted to see. I just didn't get a chance to see it in theaters, and I've actually thought about buying it a few times, and just never did. And so I'm glad I didn't, because I ended up finding it for, I think it was like $3. I think I may have picked it up for. Haven't watched it yet, but excited to watch it at some point. I've heard really good things about it. So, First Man. Up next, Five Fingers for Morales. Or Morales. I don't know how to pronounce it. It's a Western movie that I found at Dollar Tree for $1. I've yet to watch it, but it is pretty highly rated. I think it was like 7 something. So for $1, I just blind bought it. This was part of my birthday stuff from a buddy of mine, but The Fog, directed by John Carpenter. Huge fan of John Carpenter. Always willing to check out anything by John Carpenter. Reversible artwork. So I'm excited to check out The Fog. Just haven't got around to it yet. Up next, let me see if I can show the case. Yeah, I can. But Frankenshark. This movie is awful. I found this one at the record store I was telling you about, and I got it because of Beelzebub Productions. And like, you find this in a store, right? It's like, it's such a weird thing to actually like come across in a store, and we watched it, and it's awful. It also comes with another movie called Chronos, which is also like some kind of Santa Claus killer movie. I don't know. We ended up not watching it because Frankenshark was so bad. Also known as Dick Shark. So basically, this guy rubs this experimental gel on his you know what, and then it turns into a shark shaped like a certain phallic object, and it goes killing people. Yeah, don't recommend this. It's awful. The acting's all bad. It's super long. There's a lot of slow-mo scenes. The shark and stuff looks terrible. And the director's in the movie, Bill Zabub, and he has these long spouting off nonsense dialogue scenes, and every girl's basically naked for no reason. Yeah, don't recommend it. Not a fan. Probably not going to check out his other movie either. I found this at the Dollar Tree, but The French Connection 2 with Gene Hackman. I don't have The French Connection 1. French Connection's been on my watch list for a long time, and now I need to get it. But I grabbed the second one because it was only $1. I've not heard anything about the second one. I didn't even know it existed until I came across it at Dollar Tree. Up next is Double Funny Games. Funny Games Criterion. Funny Games, the remake. Michelle Haneke remade his own movie in America, an American version, because that was his original intentions. And they're the exact same movie. You can pick either one you want. It does not matter. This does not have a Blu-ray release, and the DVD quality is garbage. Um, this is one of the lower one of the lower quality DVDs I've seen in a while. It's also one of the dual. There's a version on each side. One side's widescreen, one side's full screen. I think that's what the issue is because they compress too much on one disc. Maybe, I don't know, but they're basically the same. I have pros and cons of each one. If I'm gonna pick one that I like better, I like the original version better, which is German. Yeah, which is German. Um, but I mean, they're both good. You can watch either one. I liked both of them. Basically, two strangers show up to this family's vacation home, and terror ensues. It's very brutal, very disturbing, and both serve really good character pieces. Um, yeah, I'd give this one like maybe like an 8, 8.5, and then this one like a 7.5 and 8. I mean, they're both good. I don't know what to tell you. They're both good. Next, I found at the clearance section of half price books. So for $2, I believe it was $2, I had to grab it, and that is G-Force, the guinea pig movie. Sam Rockwell, um, Tracy Morgan, and I'm not sure who else is in this. Zach Galifianakis, Nicolas Cage. That's right. John Farava, John Fair, however you say his name, the guy who directed Iron Man and stuff. I can't think of his name. Penelope Cruz, Steve Buscemi. They're really an all-star cast. You know, I enjoyed this one. I hate to admit I enjoyed this one as much as I did, but it is so goofy, so dumb, and just so much fun. Basically, Zach Galifianakis plays a scientist who turns his guinea pigs into a CIA-style operation team, who they got to take down, I believe, Bill Nye, who is creating a cyber, or supposedly creating a cyber force to take over the world. And super goofy, super fun though. There's some action set pieces in this that are really cool though. Like there's one in particular that involves a lot of fireworks that and they're in the like the little like hamster balls that's just a lot of fun. This is just a dumb goofy movie that I enjoyed. Another Dollar Tree pickup, but garlic and gunpowder. I mean, just look at the cover. This looks like something I would enjoy, or at least mildly enjoy. So I grabbed it, not yet watched it. Up next is, I found for $1 at the flea market, is Gladiator. The slipcase is not in very good shape. I actually probably need to throw away the slipcase. I might be able to clean it up, but looks like there's some water damage there. But Russell Crowe's Gladiator, the inside case and the disc itself was super clean, which is why I went ahead and got it for $1. Because I don't own Gladiator yet. This is a Ridley Scott movie with Russell Crowe, probably his most well-known role. Also on our scratcher, you have to watch Joaquin Phoenix is also in this. I forget Joaquin Phoenix is in this. But yeah, I mean, this is the classic. This is just such a good movie. Every once in a while, you find something at Dollar Tree that you're just like so giddy you found it, and one of those is Bobcat Goldthwait movie, God Bless America. Bobcat Goldthwait, right? I don't know if I'm pronouncing his name right. I've seen this movie a dozen times. This is an easy 9 out of 10 for me. It is incredibly messed up in a way, but basically, the lead, I can't think of his name, Joel Murray, believes he has terminal cancer, and so he's just sick of life, and he just goes on a killing spree. He just goes kill people. And he gets his girl to tag along with them, because she sees him kill someone she went to school with, and she's like, this is cool. She just tags along with him, and it's just such a dark, super dark comedy, but it is so good. It's so good on so many levels. For one, it has some really shocking moments. You're like, wow, they went there. Two, um, it has two great leads in it. Joel Murray is really good in it, and so is Tara Lynn Barr, who plays Roxy the girl, his cohort. Both really good. The comedy for me lands. I think it's the dark comedy works really well here. Well directed, well shot. Super recommend it. It is like I said, really dark and twisted, but kind of a nice um kind of jab at pop culture. But super recommend God Bless America. Very good. Up next is part of stuff I bought from my one buddy who I bought the other stuff from, but some Godzilla from the Toho Godzilla collection, Godzilla 2000, Godzilla versus Destroya, Godzilla versus Meguiarus, maybe? I'm gonna have to look because I don't know. I don't believe these are on the Criterion Godzilla set. I don't believe, but I haven't watched them yet. I know I've seen 2000 at some point and Destroya at some point in my life. But I haven't watched them recently. So, but can't Godzilla movies? They're fun. So we'll get them. I'll get through them at some point. Another Dollar Tree grab: the Great World of Sound. It's a documentary. Is it a documentary? Is this one? No, this is not a documentary. Martin is an uncomplimented guy who responds to an ad in the paper for a company called Great World of Sound. Joining the crew, Martin partners up with larger than life Clarence, and the two hit the road to discover and sign new musical talent. But it's got Pat Healy in it. Okay, so this is the Pat Healy one. Yeah, I don't know. Just sounds good. I like Pat Healy as an actor, so I grabbed it. From the horror pack, one of the best, I actually think would probably be the best of the horror pack of the last few horror packs for this update, and that is Gwen. This is a really cool, it's not a horror at all. It has some horror elements, but this is more of a family drama. But basically Gwen is the daughter. Their father goes missing. Heather goes missing or he dies. I can't remember right off the top of my head, but the mother having a lot of mental problems. A big oil tycoon company is trying to buy out their farm and gets a little threatening. All while she's got to basically protect her little sister, care for their family, and deal with the mother's mental illness. And her mental illness mixed with the oil tycoons kind of add the horror elements. But this is much more of a family drama that is beautifully shot. Super well shot. Pretty good but minimalistic score. And then just some really good lead performances, especially from the mother, who I'm not sure her name. I can't remember if she's Maxine Peake or Eleanor Washington Cox. One of the two. Gwen also is pretty good, but the mother is really good in this movie. Yeah, pretty good. Definitely would recommend Gwen. A Dollar Tree find is Happy Feet. This is directed by George Miller, also known as the director of Mad Max. Animated winner of the best film. And YMS, Your Movie Sucks, did a really cool breakdown of this movie of its anti-religious themes. And there's definitely some merit to that when you watch this movie. But it's all right. It's just a cute movie. The animation's pretty decent. It's nothing that is mind blowing or anything, but I'm happy I own it for $1. But yeah, it's pretty good. Elijah Wood's in it. Basically, it's about these penguins who are very like, you got to do these things and make sure we get a good harvest. And they all, kind of have these ways about their life. And then Elijah Wood's penguin's born, and he's different. And he's got the happy feet. He dances and stuff, and they don't like that. So it's kind of got a footloose tone to it. And then it's kind of just about him coming to be his own self. Up next, I picked this up at the record store in Tennessee, and that is Hell Comes to Frogtown. This is a movie that's been on my watch list for a long time with Roddy Piper. And I've actually put off getting it for a long time because I wanted the slipcase, but I don't think I'm ever going to find the slipcase. And so I found this for a good price. I decided to go ahead and grab it because, like I said, this has been on my watch list. This is co-directed by I can't remember. I think it's Donald G. Jackson, who went on to make a lot of really bizarre movies and create this new wave of like, I can't remember what it's called, but it's like Zen filmmaking or something like that. And they have this really weird, or did have this really weird YouTube video where they had like this like fake interview thing where like these fake paparazzi were following them around being like, you know, what's your next movie, these hot directors and stuff. And it's really bizarre. I've really wanted to like kind of cover them and get, but their movies are super expensive for ones that I think are going to be complete garbage. But this was put out by Vinegar Syndrome. Definitely curious to see this, but this is also co-directed by R.J. Kaiser, and I've heard good things about this, so I'm excited about it. Up next was a Dollar Tree find. I've not opened this one yet. I don't really have a reason why, but Highrise, directed by Ben Wheatley. He's a director I really love that I think is pretty underrated. And I remember really enjoying this one. It's got Tom Hiddleston in it, Jeremy Irons, Selena Miller, Luke Evans, Elizabeth Moss. So quite a cast in it. But basically, it's a dystopian style movie where there is a high rise, and the bottom levels are like the poor people and stuff like that. And then as you go up, it gets richer. And the whole idea is this high rise, you never have to leave. Everything, it's all self-containable. There's stores in it. There's garbage. There's water. There's like everything you need is in this one building, so you never have to leave. And it's kind of this dystopian society that lives in this building. And I remember really loving this when I watched it the first time. So finding it for $1, I know there's a Blu-ray, but I wanted to own a copy of it, so I grabbed it for $1. Um, yeah, I wouldn't mind rewatching this one. Like I said, Ben Wheatley, I really love as a director. He's got a couple movies I've not seen of recent, but I want to check out. Up next is How from Beyond the Fog. This is a 30-some minute. Oh, it's 70 minutes. Oh, with the making of. Yeah, this is like a short film or something. Of a kaiju movie that comes with a big 35-minute making of. Um, yeah, so this is just, I mean, it just looks like a fun kaiju movie. A buddy of mine grabbed this for me because my Walmart didn't have it. It was like $6.97 at Walmart. And literally the day after he grabbed this for me, I went to Walmart and they had it on shelf. So thanks, dude, for still grabbing it for me. Um, but yeah, so I'm excited to check this one out. Just haven't got around to it yet. Another Dollar Tree find, The Humanity Bureau with Nick Cage. It's basically, it's set in the future. There's a dystopian society. Nicolas Cage plays this like detective uh, who there's like a new colony, and he's like they get brainwashed or something. And he's got to like determine whether or not people get sent there, and it's basically corrupt. They make him do it, and then he kind of, I don't know if he falls in love. I don't know what the, I can't remember what the deal is, but he decides to help this family, and then they're on the run from the bureau. And I remember this one being not too bad. Like I remember the kind of dystopian side being kind of fun and enjoyable with some decent like villains and some good moments, some unexpected twists too. I think, especially toward the end of the movie. Um, Up next from the Dollar Tree, Igor on Blu-ray, or maybe I got this one from Big Lots. I can't remember now, but yeah, this is just kind of a cute animation about Igor. They live in a society where there's, you know, a bunch of mad scientists and everybody's got an Igor. Igor, this one played by John Cusack, one of the better Cusack performances. Um, and there's a big annual like talent show at the end about making these wicked inventions, and he's a different Igor because he has his own ideas. Um, and yeah, it's a pretty fun little cute movie. Last from this stack, Ip Man Kung Fu Master, the newest in the Ip Man movies, or Yip Man, however you want to pronounce it. I've not watched this one yet. Like I said, I've been collecting all this Ip Man stuff to make a big video on it at some point, and I just keep buying them. I don't know. I've never watched them, but I will make a video on them. Let me grab some more stuff. All right, we are making our way through this. We're more than the halfway point, I'm pretty sure. All right, more Dollar Tree stuff. We got John dies at the end. I remember watching this on Netflix and really enjoying it. So when I found it for $1, I was like, sure. Um, don't know if I'll ever watch it anytime soon, but I'm glad to own it for $1. From the Horror Pack Killer movie, I already have this. If you've watched my previous updates, I got this with Midnight Movie and a double pack from FYE. Two individual spines just sold together, and this one's still wrapped. Don't know what I'm gonna do with this one yet, but it's not a good movie. Basically, it's about this reality show. It's being made at like this high school or something, if I remember right. And then there's a killer killing them, and yeah, it's not very good from what I remember. I don't remember very much about it other than Penny from the Big Bang Theory's in it, and she's not very good. And then some of the kills were kind of fun because I remember there was one that's like a big industrial fan or something that they fall through. Up next is Killer Tattooist. I've noticed a trend. Some of these SP Echo Bridge movies that Walmart gets have been a few months later showing up at Dollar Tree because nobody's buying them. And this is one of them. I actually remember thinking about buying this one for $12.90 something, and glad I didn't. I haven't watched it yet, but just glad I found it for $1 later. I would have been kind of annoyed because I bought some of the Savas D. Michael stuff for full price and found them later at Dollar Tree for $1. That I would rather spend $1 on them, but yeah, I'll watch it at some point. Found this one at the flea market, but King Cobra. I have not watched this one yet. Christian Slater. It sounds interesting. Uh, it kind of sells me on the color scheme. But I'll watch it at some point. Molly Ringwald, Alicia Silverstone is also in it. So James Franco shows up. So I'll give it a watch at some point. From the horror pack, The Last Exorcism Part 2. I've not watched it because I have not seen Part 1. I'm very against, even if it's a standalone movie, if it's part of a series, I'm not a big fan of just jumping into a movie. I would like to watch the previous installments. So I won't watch this one until I get Last Exorcism Part 1, and I don't have a clue when that will be. Another my dog. Another one of my favorite movies of 2021 so far, The Legend of He. I think I'm pronouncing that right. Or Hai. I'm not really sure. But basically, it's about this little boy who is like this cat spirit who's kind of orphaned, and he comes across the spirit world's being ruined by humans, and he's got to find a new home, and he runs into another spirit group who take him under their wing. Um but he runs into a human, and this human kind of acts as the bounty hunter for like bad spirits, and he kind of tags along with this human, and it's a very beautiful story. The animation's gorgeous, very Ghibli-esque. If you're a fan of Studio Ghibli, very Ghibli-esque. But the thing that stands out to me in this movie is, while all the characters are very well developed, there's not a bad or a good guy in this movie. Everybody's very neutral. Everybody has certain motives, certain things about them that make them very believable and very in a mixed field. And the thing that I love about this movie is the action set pieces. There is some incredibly mind-blowing action set pieces in this movie that are just stunning. Especially the ending action set piece. To me, it's just beyond epic. I mean, it really is. It's really, really good. This is one that I just kind of saw the artwork and I was like, this looks kind of cool. And so I decided to go ahead and grab it and was just completely blown away with it when I watched it. It's like I said, it's one of my favorites of 2021. Super recommend it. Up next, I believe I grabbed this from Big Lots for like $1 or $2 off their clearance rack, if I remember right. But that is, or maybe this was Dollar Tree. I can't remember. Legend of the Tsunami Warrior. Haven't watched it yet. I'm a sucker for these like medievalish kind of like swords and shield kind of kind of movies, and yeah, don't know anything about it. Haven't watched it yet, but we'll watch it at some point. Another Dollar Tree, The Life Changer. Again, I just pick up these Dollar Tree horror movies. This one sounds cool though. I just haven't watched it yet. But basically, it's someone who can shapeshift, and he can bounce around from body to body. So, just kind of curious. Haven't watched it. Another Dollar Tree, The Lighthouse, not the Robert Pattinson one, but a different one. Um, yeah, just $1. Don't really have much I can say about it. I picked this one up at Big Lots, I think for $5, but it's one that's been on my watch list actually for a little while, and that is Jackie Chan and Little Big Soldier. This yeah, this just looks like a fun movie. Got Jackie Chan in it. Um, don't know much about it other than that. I just remember always kind of seeing the cover and being like, yeah, I wouldn't mind watching that. So when I found it for $5 at Big Lots, I grabbed it. Another SP Echo Bridge Dollar Tree pickup, Locusts. Don't really know anything about this one, just found it for $1. I actually passed on this one originally and then came back and they still had a copy of it, so I just went ahead and grabbed it. Kind of a busted up copy. I don't know if you can see that, but it's kind of busted up there. But haven't watched it. I finally picked up The Lost Boys at Barnes & Noble, found it for $4.99. So I grabbed it, and yeah, I haven't seen this in years. We actually not long ago watched Stand By Me. We rewatched it. And so when I came across The Lost Boys, I was like, all right, we got to grab this. We just haven't watched it yet. I wouldn't mind watching it sometime here soon, but we just haven't yet. Kiefer Sutherland, the Coreys. Watch it at some point. Another one I picked up at Barnes & Noble for $10, and like 30% off the 10, but the Maltese Falcon. I have not watched this yet, but it's a classic, and I'll watch it at some point. It's been on my watch list because I do like the noir style movies. I found at Big Lot, not Big Lots, Half Price Books. My wife found it. The Man with the Screaming Brain, directed by Bruce Campbell, starring Bruce Campbell and Tony Raimi. Right? Tony's his brother. Ted Raimi. Ted Raimi. This is all right. It wasn't as over the top or as funny as I was kind of hoping it would be. Basically, about a rich man, his wife go to somewhere. I can't remember. It's like Russia or something, and Bruce Campbell's character gets killed, and Ted Raimi and his mad scientist Stacy Keach get his body and do their experiment on him and bring him back to life. And it's got some good moments for sure, but it's not as good as I was hoping it would have been. Speaking of the Father's Day guys, Manborg. It's the same group made Manborg. I came across this for $7 or $8 at Half Price Books, and I looked at the back of it and I said, yes, please. It looks so much fun, and watching it, it's pretty fun. Very goofy. The armies of hell have overtaken Earth, and all that stands in the way of the villainous Count Draculon and humanity's total extinction is a motley crew of misfits led by the mighty Manborg, a warrior who's half man and half machine and all hero. Yeah, so I mean, it's just goofy, but it's fun. It's got some cool special effects. Very green screen heavy, very grindhouse overlaid kind of thing. If I remember right, the entire movie is pretty much green screened, but not too bad. Comes with a short film biocop as well that I remember being pretty enjoyable. It comes with a litany of special features, commentaries, deleted scenes, alternate scenes, bloopers, behind the scenes, stop motion montage, VFX montage, short film, interviews, and Q&A for the premiere. Another one I found at the record store that I never even knew existed is Meet the Feebles. Peter Jackson directed this. One of the earlier Peter Jackson movies, and yeah, I had to get this because it just seems so bizarre. Belch, a cigar-chomping walrus, has his hands full with his cast of his egocentric showbiz star with a cast of egocentric showbiz stars. Can't read. When you've got an incompetent, panic-stricken fox as a director, a junky, knife-throwing frog, and a hare with a fatal disease as MC, things do not look sunny. But Belch's biggest problem is his star and longtime lover, Heidi the hippo, who suspects that he's having an affair with a Siamese cat named Samantha. Look at the DVD. Oops, sorry. This is by far the worst DVD copy I've ever seen. It's not a bootleg. It's official from my understanding. But the quality is like an old used VHS tape, and then they just ripped it and put it on disc. The quality is awful. I would love for this to get a Blu-ray release because there's a lot of cool things happening visually. Everything's puppets, and it's really cool. The puppets are really well done, and yeah, it's just a goofy good time. Would definitely recommend Meet the Feebles by Peter Jackson. I just wish it was a better quality. Memories of Murder. Bong Joon-ho, director of Parasite, Mother, The Host. So this is weird. So I pre-ordered this one. This is one of the first times I've ever bought a Criterion not on sale. Because I wanted to see this movie so bad. The booklet for the movie is too big. So it's all bent up and creased. It does not actually fit inside the case. I don't know what happened there with Criterion. You can kind of see how it's bent up at the top. I don't know what happened with Criterion on this release. I've never seen this happen before. But yeah, so the booklet does not fit the case. Very strange. As for the movie, this is a really good... Oh god, I can't get the book folded up now. A really good crime thriller, crime mystery movie with... Oh, I can't think of his name now. He's been in basically every one of Bong Joon-ho's movies. He's a really good actor. Kim Sang-hyung? Probably not pronouncing his name right, and I apologize. But he's a phenomenal actor. Really good Korean detective piece. Very good ending. It kind of gets drug out in the middle a little bit, but does really keep you guessing on what's happening. Very engaging, very well put together, very well shot. And yeah, definitely recommend Memories of Murder. Moving on. Minari. I picked up Minari. This is one of them that's I was super excited to see. I believe this is considered a 2020 movie. So I'm not sure if it's on my 2021 list. I can't remember now. I'd have to look. But Steven Yeun is proven to be an amazing actor. No different here. The entire cast is good. This is just kind of a nice little family piece. Basically about a Korean family moving to Arkansas so the father can follow his dream of owning a farm. It's a nice piece of it's both an American and a Korean film, and it's just a nice little like kind of the American dream kind of movie. You know, I mean, migrating into America to live your life and try and create your life and stuff, and the struggles of being, you know, from a different country moving into this country because the mother-in-law, Korean mother-in-law, comes and moves in with them, and it kind of contrasts their, you know, their previous life with their new life. And yeah, it's just set up for a lot of great, amazing acting pieces. Yeah, pretty good. It's a good movie overall. Up next is Monster Hunter. I made an entire big video on that, so I'm not gonna stay long here. Just I would implore you to check that out, please. Huge fan of Monster Hunter. Very excited about the Monster Hunter movie. Has a lot of good things going for it, but also has a lot of dumb things going for it. So I've seen it like 4 times now when I was making the video. And I'm pretty firm on like, I think I gave it a 6 or a 6.5. Up next is Muck, one of the horror pack number 58. This is a garbage movie. Pretty pretty much just an excuse to have a lot of nudity on film. And yeah, it's bad. There's literally a scene where basically we start right in the middle of the movie, right? And this group of characters is being hunted down by these like I don't know if they're like mutants or what, but these people, they're being hunted down by these um killers, and one of them runs away to go get help, and he goes into this bar, and then he just like sits down and orders a drink. Like he's like, screw my friends, I guess. Characters just make really dumb decisions. It's just frustrating. Wouldn't recommend it. One I definitely would recommend, My Life as Zucchini. I found this at Big Lots for $5. This is one that's been on my watch list for a while. This is originally, is it French or Spanish originally? I can't remember. Um, but it's a stop animation film that has a really good American cast, and we watched with the American dub, and it's a very good American dub. Will Forte, Nick Offerman, Ellen Page. I don't know Amy Sedaris. I don't really know her, but yeah, it's a good movie. It's about a boy who mother dies and ends up in a foster home, and he's got to deal with living in this new environment. And it does a really good job of everybody in the foster home kind of has their own thing going on, and it kind of explores everybody, kind of gives kind of an honest opinion of what life in that kind of situation would be like. And yeah, it's really good. It's really touching. It's one of those ones that will probably make you cry. Also comes with a short film, The Genie and a Tin Can of Ravioli, and a making of. So definitely recommend. Let's grab some more stuff. Puppy? Excuse me, puppy. All right, moving on. Dollar Tree pickup, Nature Calls. I remember kind of liking this. It's not anything amazing, just kind of a little low budget comedy with a great cast: Patton Oswalt, Rob Riggle, Patrice O'Neill, Johnny Knoxville. And if I remember right, it's something about like this Boy Scout group going out, and then determined to honor his father's scouting legacy and mount one last comeback for the dwindling troop. Assistant Scoutmaster Randy Stevens, played by Patton Oswalt, pays a visit to his business-minded brother Kurt, Johnny Knoxville, who is throwing a television-themed slumber party for his newly adopted 10-year-old son at his McMansion. Randy pressures the boys to secretly ditch the party and join him on a weekend scout trip. Pursued by Kurt and his security guard Rob Riggle, the adventure lands the boys in trouble at every turn, pits them against angry parents and park rangers, yet ultimately turns the group of sheltered kids into a troop to be reckoned with. Yeah, something like that. I don't remember too much about this movie other than it being mildly enjoyable, and I grabbed it for $1 because that's a good cast. Up next, another dollar grab, Mick Jagger as Ned Kelly. Um, that alone's interesting enough. Not watched this one yet, but Mick Jagger in a leading role. I've never really seen him act very much, and I am interested more in Ned Kelly after the true history of the Kelly Gang. So, sure, just haven't watched it yet. I finally picked up The Nightingale. This is a incredibly brutal movie with amazing performances. This is Jennifer Kent's follow-up to The Babadook, which is great, and I think this one's better. Although I would probably rather watch The Babadook over this one because I'm not going to pronounce her name right, and I apologize, but a sailing Francois maybe gives an amazing performance in this movie. Super super good. Um but yeah, basically she gets raped and they kill her husband and baby, and she goes out for vengeance, and it is not a fun film. It is a brutal film, shot incredibly well, very well directed with great performances. This movie's fantastic, but it is not fun to watch. Super recommend The Nightingale. Just, you know, I don't know what you're getting into. The 4K release of Nobody I picked up. This is Ilya Naishuler's follow-up to Hardcore Henry, which is probably, if not my favorite action movie of all time, one of my favorites. And I was very curious to see what he would do as a director of something that's a little bit more traditional, something that's not relying on the first-person aspect point of view. And he did an awesome job. This is a great movie. Bob Odenkirk is really good in it. I've watched it twice now. Both times flew by. It's a super fun movie. Hutch is a nobody, and Bob Odenkirk just did a great job in this one. He plays a very calm, collected man until someone breaks into his house, steals his daughter's kitty bracelet, and that just breaks him. And he becomes this just nonstop monster of a fighter kind of thing, and it is awesome. And that just leads into more. It just spirals into this huge mess. That leads into some really, really fun action set pieces. RZA shows up. I believe it's RZA, right? Yeah, it's RZA. RZA shows up along with Christopher Lloyd. And yeah, it's just super fun. A lot of great style, a lot of great action pieces. Very reminiscent to John Wick, which is funny considering it's from the writer of John Wick as well. I think I don't know if he wrote this one or produced it. But yeah, super recommend. Can't wait to see what Ilya Naishuler does after this as well. Dollar Tree pickup, not quite Hollywood. It's a documentary on Australian exploitation films. Pretty good, not super well focused, kind of all over the place. But Quentin Tarantino obviously drops in for a while. But if you're interested in Aussie exploitation films, definitely worth $1. If you're interested in film history, I guess. Another Dollar Tree pickup I've yet to watch, but Pablo, starring Javier Bardem and Penelope Cruz. Like I said, I've not watched this one yet, but Javier Bardem as Pablo Escobar is totally worth $1. So I'll give it a watch at some point. I gotta get that back sticker off too. Up next, my buddy gave me this one for my birthday in this nice little protective case. But put out by Vinegar Syndrome, The Passing. Not watched this one yet, but these slipcases from Vinegar Syndrome are no joke. Like, they're like nice and sturdy. But that's why he gave me the protective case, because Vinegar Syndrome slipcases are highly sought after. Also, reversible artwork on the inside. I've yet to watch this one, but plan to watch it sometime soon. So, thanks, buddy, for my birthday gifts. I know I've not really watched any of them yet, but I've been trying. I've been trying to get through stuff. But I am curious about that. About that one. If I can put the case back together. Give me technical difficulties. Up next, The Passing. Completely different movie. I found at Dollar Tree for $1. I don't know. It looked kind of interesting. So I grabbed it. One of the other few Severin things I got, Perdido Durango, also by Alex de la Iglesia. Don't know if I'm pronouncing it right. But stars Javier Bardem. Has a nice supporting role by and Ruiz Perez. Or Rosie Perez, I don't know. But it has a nice little supporting role by James Gandolfini, one of the greatest actors of all time, in my opinion. Javier Bardem's no joke either, though. But this is basically Spanish natural-born killers. Javier Bardem is a Santeria practicer, right? Is that what it is? And he falls in love with Rosie Perez. They go on a killing spree. James Gandolfini plays the detective trying to hunt him down, and that's basically the movie, and it's really good. I enjoyed this one more than The Day of the Dead, The Day of the Beast. I mean, but really good. Definitely would recommend. Up next is the last of that group, but Psycho Gorman. This is the same director and same group who also did Manborg and Father's Day. And Psycho Gorman just seemed like it'd be a really fun flick, and it is. A little bit of reversible artwork as well, and comes with this nice little like pamphlet booklet of like, I don't know if it's real gear or what, but like little stuff like that. Basically, what happens is these kids unearth this this like amulet who controls Psycho Gorman. And since they have power of him, he can't kill them. But there's this race of aliens who are trying to kill Psycho Gorman, so they gotta fight to protect them. And it's just like a demented ET, right? Like it's kind of ET-ish, but demented. My biggest issue is the actress who plays the girl. She is really bad in the movie, and her character is awful. Like they wrote her in such a bad way. Her name's Mimi. They wrote her in such an awful way where it's just like you can't get behind her at all. Like you just kind of hope she dies. But yeah, it's pretty good. I give it like a 6.5. More Tardin Asian Extreme, but Phone. Yet to watch it. Big Lots pickup. Next up, The Piano Teacher. After seeing Funny Games, I wanted to try out some more Michelle Haneke, so I picked up Piano Teacher on the Criterion sale. And it's great movie that is not fun to watch at all. Basically about a piano teacher who has a lots of issues, I would say. Kind of gets in this dangerous relationship with one of her students, and yeah, it leads into some really some bad situations for the piano teacher. And like I said, this is a really good movie, beautifully shot, amazing performances, but not a fun one. Up next, the last of the limited edition horror packs, I believe, number 60, Poltergeist Diaries, a garbage found footage movie. It's like, so basically it's like found footage mixed with a mockumentary style, and it's awful. To me, it's like they filmed all the interview segments at their house. Like Eric Roberts shows up in the movie, and he's literally like eating a sandwich during his scene. Like he just filmed it during his lunch break, and it's awful. But the thing that's kind of weird is this comes with a short film called Mom and Dad by the same director. And the short film Mom and Dad is actually great. It's very, very good, very unique, very interesting. And then this movie is just garbage. So maybe the director, I would be willing to give him, another shot. See what else he does. Ugh. More half-price books finds John Carpenter's The Prince of Darkness. I know this has a 4K, but I found this one for pretty cheap with the slipcase still. So I was pretty happy to find it. Got its reversible artwork. Yeah, Prince of Darkness is sweet. It's a really good movie. I definitely think it's one of the more underrated John Carpenter movies. It's kind of about this group of scientists who get caught up in this church to they open up an ancient canister and then it releases like zombies, and then they got to fight to survive through it, and it's pretty awesome. Alice Cooper has a nice little cameo spot in it, but yeah, I remember really enjoying it. Great soundtrack too, from what I remember. I found this one brand spanking factory sealed at Half Price Books for $10, and that is Princess and the Frog, in like the big hunkin' set, where it's like the 3-disc where it comes with like the digital still on the on the disc and stuff. The nice big chunky set. Princess Frog's awesome. It's sad this was kind of Disney's last like ditch effort to try out traditional 2D animation, and unfortunately it was kind of a flop, and I don't know why. I really enjoyed it. I think the music's awesome, has that big band New Orleans style theme to it. It's kind of steeped in like voodoo and stuff like that. The villain is awesome, and yeah, I really enjoy it. Basically, main character. I can't remember if she gets turned into a frog. She meets a frog that's a prince. I can't remember entirely what happens in this. It's been quite a while since I've seen it, but I would like to rewatch this one. I remember really enjoying it, and it's kind of sad that it didn't do very well. But I'm happy to own it, so I'm gonna have to revisit it sometime soon. So we watched it on Disney Plus when we first got Disney Plus. For a newer release, Promising Young Woman. This was a movie that I was pretty interested in seeing. I love Carey Mulligan as an actress. Bo Burnham has a pretty good, strong role in this. But it's pretty good. It's got a very satisfying ending. The ending is very satisfying, but basically about Carey Mulligan's character, who friend ends up, I believe, taking her own life after an incident occurs that involves her basically getting. I don't think it's basically. I think she was flat out like raped, and they filmed it and stuff, and she ended up like killing herself over it. So Carey Mulligan like goes out and find these people who try to take advantage of women, and then basically scare straights programs them, and how she's untrusting of people and stuff like that, and pretty good. Like I said, Carey Mulligan is easily the best part. Bo Burnham's pretty good in it as well. Got a good visual style. Very cool version of Britney Spears' Toxic in this film. But yeah, pretty good. Last out of this stack is the Pusher 2 I found at Dollar Tree. I really hope I can find Pusher 3 because that would be awesome to find this trilogy at the Dollar Tree. I've never seen Pusher 2. Sorry, I didn't mean to hit the mic. Pusher 1's really good. Nicholas Winding Refn's one of my favorite directors. So I can't wait to watch this one. Yeah, I'll watch it at some point. I hope I find 3 at some point as well. Grab some more stuff. Grab a little bit of a smaller stack here since we'll be moving into like S's and stuff. But I found Oblivion on DVD, the Scream Factory release at Half Price Books. This is a movie that's been on my watch list actually for a little while because it just seems fun. A Western space cowboy movie. Basically, it's about this town that gets taken over by Red Eye, who's like this evil alien gangster, when a new sheriff, or I guess not new sheriff, but the sheriff's son rolls into town, and everybody wants him to like help out to like save the town. And it's just got like a fun cast of characters. And yeah, it's a pretty good time. There's actually some really funny intentional humor moments in this one. But yeah, it's a good time. Just a nice little fun Western space romp. And I want to check out the sequel. I found a half price books Osmosis Jones on DVD. This does not have a Blu-ray. The DVD is incredibly hard to find. So when I found it, I was pretty excited. And it's like the cool, like old, like papery ones, and it's in good shape. So Osmosis Jones was one I grew up with. I remember liking the show too. Basically about the antibodies and the immune system and stuff like that are real people inside human bodies. Bill Murray's character gets sick, and Osmosis Jones and what's his name? Is it Drix? Yeah, Drix. They team up to take over to stop the infection and stuff. And there's some really gross moments in this, but this is just like one of my childhood like underrated classics that I think more people should talk about. Up next, another half price books pickup is Rango. I don't know why it took so long to pick this one up. I adore this movie. It's a Gore Verbinski movie with Johnny Depp, and it's just such a beautifully animated movie. Like this came out in what, 2010? 2011. The animation is still on par with anything done today. The animation is just stunning in this movie. it's all like CG'd animation to be like kind of photorealistic. Obviously exaggerated, but the animation just beautiful. It's just such a fun little like tale too of, Rango moves into this town and becomes the new sheriff. He acts like somebody he's not, and then he's kind of put to the test to uncover the plan of like why there's no water. The rattlesnake Jake is kind of terrorizing the town. Really good. Super recommend Rango if you've never seen it. I don't know why it took so long to get it. Or for another newer release, Raya and the Last Dragon on 4K. I'm not going to pay Disney plus $30 to rent it when I pay for Disney Plus. I'd rather just wait for it to come out and buy it, which is what I did. And this was a good movie. Basically, it's about the world they live in is broken up into different kingdoms. The dragon spirits have all vanished, and the main character Raya, her dad's kind of the leader of the tribe who kind of holds everybody together, and that the stone that he controls that is supposed to be like the last dragon spirit or something like that gets taken over or gets broken or something. I gotta try to remember. And then it basically sets everybody off into war, and Raya war in this evil like purple stuff. It turns everything to stone. That's what it is. The stone is the last bit of the dragon magic that holds away this like evil purple stuff at bay that turns everybody into stone. So when it gets broken, it gets unleashed, and then like every world's dealing with this. Years go by. Raya's on the hunt for the last known dragon spirit, and it's a really fun romp adventure kind of movie. The animation is stunning. I love the designs of the worlds and stuff. The dragon's played by Awkwafina, and personally, I don't mind Awkwafina's performance. I don't like how the character is written. I wish the character was written to be very different. It's written to be the comedy relief character, and it just does not work. I wish it was written to be a little bit more serious. Especially because the ragtag band of characters that she kind of assembles throughout this movie has a lot more actual funny moments than Raya does. Or The Last Dragon does. I guess she's Raya, right? I can't remember who's the last dragon. Is it Raya's the last dragon? No, she's Raya. I can't remember the dragon's name. But they, I just wish she was written different. That was my biggest complaint. It also comes with a short film, Us Again, which is one of the best Disney short films I've seen in a long time. Super recommend the short film Us. It's a beautiful and moving little musical short about dancing and about aging and how life progresses, and it's really really well done. But Ryo is pretty cool. From the horror packs, I got Resident Evil: The Generation. It's a Resident Evil completely CG'd movie. It looks like a video game cutscene, which is kind of cool because you don't see the animation style like that very often. But this is a very mediocre movie. It's not amazing. It's not great. Basically, it's a Resident Evil movie. Zombie outbreak breaks out, and Leon shows up, teams up with Claire, and they gotta stop the outbreak kind of thing. It's all right. I'm not a huge fan of it. Up next, Riders of Justice. Super awesome movie. Can't recommend this enough. This would also go up with like Butt Boy and the Father of like movies you should really check out. The artwork is a complete and utter lie. There's no bikers. I mean, there's bikers in the movie. There's no real bikes in the movie. This also sets up to try to sell you a movie that this movie is not. This movie is not a action-packed thrill ride. This is a very character-driven character drama with explosive action set pieces. There's not a lot of action in this movie, but when it's there, it is heart-pounding, very impactful. The thing that drives this movie is Mads Mikkelsen. If I'm pronouncing his name wrong, I apologize. Mads Mikkelsen, whatever you want to say his name is. He's an amazing actor, and I really should learn how to say his name properly because I love him as an actor. But he is great in this movie. But what is also great is the rest of the cast. the rest of the cast that shows up in this movie is absolutely amazing, and they all have their own kind of issues they're dealing with. And the film follows basically Mad's character coming back from the war after his wife is killed in a tragic train accident. One of uh, the people who ride on the train shows up at his house, thinks it's not an accident. He also feels guilty because he gave up his seat to Mad's wife's character, and if he wouldn't have gave up his seat, his wife would have lived. So he feels bad in that sense, but it's also about how people deal with trauma, and these characters are just so deep and rich that it just makes for an engaging and thrilling watch. And yeah, super recommend Riders of Justice. Take a drink here. We picked up another of the Savas D. Michaels films, Righteous Villains. Found this one at Dollar Tree. Didn't have to buy this one at Walmart for full price. Basically, I gotta remember what this one's about. Basically, it's about, I believe, there's like these two guys go after this boy who's kidnapped by the devil, and then they're like kind of enticed and about their own weaknesses and stuff. I don't remember much about this one, honestly. I remember this one being, it's for one, it's short, 76 minutes. But I just remember this one just kind of being a bunch of nothing, just a lot of like walking and talking scenes. But yeah, I mean, Salvas D. Michael has an interesting visual style, and this one's no different. I remember there being some interesting visual moments. But it's, from what I remember, the story's just kind of convoluted and self-righteous and not very good. Maybe I'll have to rewatch it at some point, because like I know I watched this one. I'm not remembering it. Like I remember Original Gangster, I remember Red Devil. There's like nothing about this one that I'm remembering very much, other than he reuses a lot of the same cast as the other ones. Yeah, I just for the life of me cannot remember much about this movie, other than it must not be very good. So yeah, that's that one. Rise of the Guardians. I believe my wife grabbed this one from Half Price Books, and we rewatched it. I haven't seen this one since theaters, and it's a nice little enjoyable flick. You know, everybody kind of quits believing in holidays, the holiday kind of spirits, characters, and stuff. So they're threatening to lose their holidays, and they got to reinvigorate the imagination of children to believe in them. And it's just a nice, animated, little colorful tale. It's pretty good. Definitely recommend it. I found this one at at the flea market for $1, and I grabbed it because I've never seen it, but I'm kind of annoyed I grabbed this one. But it's Road to Perdition with Tom Hanks. This is a movie that's always been on my watch list, but I've never watched it. But this is the full screen edition. So, gonna watch this movie with some of it chopped off. But the disc is super clean. So, that's why I ended up grabbing it, because I was also grabbing some other stuff from that guy's booth. But yeah, I'll check it out at some point. If I would have saw the full screen though, I probably wouldn't have got it. From that same booth, I picked up the Robin Hood movie with Taron Egerton, Jamie Foxx, Ben Mendelsohn. I'm so bad with names, but I remember wanting to see this one kind of in theaters, and just never did. And it was a big box office bomb. It was poorly reviewed, but I still want to watch it at some point. So finding it for $1, I'm pretty happy. I'll check it out at some point. Up next, I found all 3 of the Rurouni Kenshin movies for $5 a piece at the same game store I found Dragon Ball Z Resurrection F at. I've watched 1 and 2 so far. I haven't watched the third one, but these are awesome. These are third one. These are really sweet. And now I've never read the manga, but I vaguely remember some of the anime watching as a kid, but I didn't watch a ton of it, and I don't remember a ton of it. But these are really cool adaptations, regardless if it's very truthful to the source material. Because The performances are good, but more importantly, the sword fighting is really good. And there's nothing in the Rurouni Kenshin line that is that fantastical to the point to where doing it in live action would be impossible. This is a story and a character that can be easily done in live action. And yeah, I was really enjoying 1 and 2. I'd give them both probably a 7 or a 7.5 out of 10. So I need to watch the third one at some point. And then I believe there's 2 or 3 new ones on Netflix that I need to watch. So that's that stack. Let me grab some more. We'll do the S's because that's a large stack of stuff from S. So my dog's like, I'm just gonna lay here and you need to step over me. I'm not moving. So from that record store from Tennessee, I picked up Satan's School for Girls. This is only $10 and it just sounds fun. Basically it's a boarding school of girls who there's kind of an occult undertone and stuff starts happening and it just seems like a good time. I had some decent reviews on IMDb, so for $10 I went ahead and grabbed it when in Rome, you know what I mean? Up next, I picked up during the Criterion sale, Igmar Bergman's Sawdust and Tinsel. Bergman is someone I want to dive into big time. And I'm going to at some point, and I'm kind of buying up the movies of his I really want to see. Now, I know Criterion did the big giant box set of all of his movies, but I already own quite a bit of them on Criterion, and so I'm just kind of collecting the ones that look the most interesting to me. And this is definitely one of them. The artwork on it is just gorgeous. I don't know what it's about. I'm going to go into it blind, but I just love the artwork a lot. I like the title, Sawdust and Tinsel. So yeah, at some point. Dollar Tree, I found the steelbook to Sherlock Holmes, the Guy Ritchie Sherlock Holmes, for like a couple bucks. It wasn't expensive at all, so I grabbed it. I remember liking the Sherlock Holmes Guy Ritchie movies. I've not seen them in a long time. So I need to grab the second one at some point. But yeah, not a bad find. Another birthday gift is The Shiver of Vampires from the cinema of Gene Roland, put out by Redemption. And from my understanding, this is like a box set. Now, I'm not going to show you the booklet, but there's a booklet. It's got nudity in it and on it. I guess I can show you like that, but I can't show you the cover to it. But he gave me this one. He said Gene Roland is just a really interesting director, and he thought I'd probably like this one. But it's out of a box set because this is number 2. I think he got this one individually and ended up getting the box set, and so he gave me this one, and I appreciate it. I have not watched it yet, though, but I want to. Up next, we bought the most important trilogy to own, and that is the Shrek Ultimate Film Collection. 6 movies, 10 shorts, 5 TV episodes. Yeah, this is like the complete thing. I mean, there's just an absurd amount of Shrek. Shrek 1, Shrek 2, Shrek the Third, Shrek Forever After, Puss in Boots, Shrek the Musical, 10 short films including Shrek and the Swamp Karaoke Party, Far, Far Away, Idol, Puss in Boots, The Three Diablos, The Ghost of Lord Farquaad, starting to lose my voice, Sacred, Scared Shrekless, Thriller Night, The Pig Who Cried Werewolf, Shrek the Halls, Donkey's Caroling Christmas-tacular, Shrek's Yuletide Lodge, and then 5 episodes from The Adventures of Puss in Boots. And this really cool, just giant disc-filled box set. The Shrek movies are awesome. Me and my wife did a Shrekathon. We did all 4 of the Shrek movies. We skipped Puss in Boots. Neither one of us are a big fan of that one. Shrek 1 is a masterpiece. Shrek 2, I might like better than Shrek 1. Shrek the Third is easily the weakest. And then Shrek Forever After was a lot of fun. We have not tried Shrek the Musical or any of the shows or shorts yet. But yeah, cool box set. Up next, a new release, Siberia, directed by Abel Ferrara, who's also directed like Bad Lieutenant, The Driller Killer. He's just directed a bunch of stuff. This was recommended to me by a buddy who said this movie was great. I don't think I'd call this great. Visually interesting, yes. There are some really disturbing moments in this movie, some really awesome visual set pieces. Cinematography is beautiful. Could arguably be some of the best cinematography of 2021. William Dafoe is great in this movie, but the movie is like this nightmarish fever dream. And I understand wanting to make a movie that's very fever dreamish, but there's not a lot of narrative to this movie. And it is a challenging movie in the sense that it's kind of hard to watch because you kind of pick up on pieces about it. And it's one of those ones where you sit afterwards and you kind of go, I don't know about that one. Um, but yeah, I'm glad I watched it. Like, I'm glad I own it. Like, I would definitely probably watch this again just for the visual aspects of it. As for the story, I mean, it definitely, because it's kind of being so uh adamantly this nightmare, so uncompromising, that it becomes kind of hard to watch. More Tartan, Asian Extreme, Silk. Not watched this one yet, but the artwork is pretty cool looking. I picked up from Dollar Tree Skin Trade. I've not opened it yet. I've owned this before. I bought this when it originally came out. It's got Ron Perlman, Dolph Lundgren, Tony Jaa, Peter Weller, Michael J. White. So yeah, it's got quite a bit of actors in it. But basically, from what I remember, it's about a detective trying to break a human trafficking ring, if I remember right. And it's all right. It was nothing, I think, amazing from what I remember. But I ended up actually trading it off when I did my first initial downsize, and I got rid of some things. I was like, I kind of wish I would have hung on to that. When I found this for Dollar Tree, I was like, I'm just gonna rebuy it. Up next, Nicolas Cage and Snake Eyes. This was out of print for a long time by Brian De Palma. Um, you could get it cheap in a 2-pack with Face Off, but like I said before, I'm not a big fan of like multi-packs of different movies, and this one's pretty good. Basically, it follows a sleazy cop detective played by Nicolas Cage as a there was a murder at a live boxing match, and he's got to find the suspects, and it's pretty good. It's not a bad little crime thriller. It's not Brian De Palma's. It's not my favorite by him, but it's not bad either. Another really cool thing that I'm glad I got from the horror pack is Spare Parts. This is a Canadian release with horror pack and Raven Banner. And I really enjoyed this one. This is one I actually saw at Walmart on DVD for $10 and thought about getting, but decided not to. And I'm glad I didn't because it showed up in the horror pack on the Blu-ray. Basically, it's about a band, an all-girl band, Miss 45, that gets broken down the side road, and they kind of get kidnapped, and they wake up, and body parts have been replaced with like swords and saws and stuff. And they find themselves in the midst of this cult who makes people fight very gladiator style, and it's a lot of fun. I like the weapons and stuff. It's all, the whole movie takes place in a junkyard, so all their weapons and armor and stuff is stuff you would forge from a junkyard, pretty much, and it makes for a lot of fun little moments. Also, the band Miss 45, their music they play is actually pretty awesome. Very fun, punk rocky kind of stuff. My biggest issue is, while the story's fun, there is segments in the middle that are really drawn out. But yeah, not a bad little movie. Up next is the Arrow release of Southland Tales. I found it with the slipcase still at Best Buy. Southland Tales is a movie, the follow-up movie from director of Donnie Darko, that has kind of a love it or hate it fan base. And I'm neither. Comes with this sweet book. Um, so I liked it overall, but basically, The Rock is in this, along with Sean William Scott and Justin Timberlake. Who's the other big name? Sarah Michelle Gellar. The Rock goes missing, and Sean William Scott is a detective, and I don't remember. what happens again? 2001, writer-director Richard Kelly achieved cult status with Donnie Darko, and assured debut feature exploring deep existential questions through the lens of 80s nostalgia. 5 years later, he followed up with a more ambitious and even more bewildering sophomore effort, in which forces of totalitarianism and anarchism applied against a backdrop of post-apocalyptic near future. That's right. So like there's like a government cell that controls everything, and then there's this anarchist cell that's trying to break up the government. And The Rock kind of plays a key character because he writes this movie that could be like earth shattering. And he goes missing, and they try to find him and stuff, and it's very convoluted. But this is a movie that's like almost 3 hours long, right? It's like 2 hours and 40 minutes long, and it flies by. It really did. Like, this movie just completely flew by for me. Like, it is super quick paced, and it is enjoyable. It's very unique. Like, you can tell this is the director's vision. It's very uncompromising. And while, yes, you could love it or hate it, there's something to respect in this movie, at least in my opinion, and I liked it overall. It's not my favorite movie. It comes with the Cannes cut, which is a completely different cut than the original cut. I will be willing to check it out at some point. We watched the regular cut. I'm kind of a fan of watching the theatrical cut and then watching a different cut later. Yeah, I'd be willing to watch this again at some point. I mean, it's long, so it's hard to sit down to justify it, but it was unique. Up next, a buddy of mine gave me from Blue Underground the Stendhal syndrome. I don't know anything about this movie. I don't know anything at all. He gave it to me, and it's by Dario Argento. And he's a director that I've come to really like here recently, and so I'm interested to check it out. I just haven't yet. Another Dollar Tree find, Stockholm. I picked it up because Ethan Hawke, Naomi Rapace, Mark Strong. Pretty good cast. Basically about Stockholm Syndrome. I think it's about the event that led to Stockholm Syndrome being considered Stockholm. So yeah, I'm curious to check that one out. Just haven't yet. A movie that I'm very curious to check out here soon, I found at Half Price Books, is Strings. This is an entire movie made with marionette puppets. I found this for really cheap, and I mean, that alone is like, I'm going to check it out, right? I just haven't got around to it yet. Up next, from Arrow Video, The Stylist. This was a new release that to me just seemed really interesting. Came with a slipcase. Gorgeous artwork here. With nice reversible artwork. But The Stylist is a movie about a hairstylist who kind of wants to live through other people's lives, kind of, and is a serial killer, and scalps them to wear their hair. It comes with a nice poster, double-sided poster. I want to get hung up at some point. Comes with a little booklet. Comes with advertisement. But this was a really enjoyable film. The lead performance, the lead actress, not sure her name, but she does a really good job here. The story has a very predictable ending, but I've never in my life have wanted the predictable ending to happen, because you're like, please, like, I have a feeling what's going to happen, and you're like sitting there on the edge of your seat hoping it actually happens. It's like, that's really cool. But yeah, this is just a really cool, kind of stylish, fun little serial killer movie. Comes with a CD with the original soundtrack, and it also comes with the short film this is based on, and a litany of extra, like, special features and stuff. I mean, it just comes with a bunch of stuff. But yeah, definitely recommend The Stylist. It was pretty cool. Up next, Super Mario Bros. The movie. Me and my friend group had this little movie night of video game movies, and I picked the Super Mario Bros. Movie because I had never seen it and always wanted to. And you know what? I really enjoyed it. It's a very dumb movie. Being based off of Mario Bros. Is very loose. But it's just such a bizarre movie that this got made. Like it's like this weird dystopian movie, like with like these like kind of alienoid creatures and stuff. This very bizarre kind of world, and they just I don't know why they decided to make this a Mario movie. Like why they decided to tie this with Mario because it's not even remotely fitting to Mario, but it's enjoyable. Like if you take this out of Mario, like if this is not a Mario movie, yeah, it's still kind of dumb, but it's fun dumb. It's a fun dumb movie. Speaking of fun movies, Surf's Up. I found this at Big Lots for $1 or so on clearance. And you know what? I like Surf's Up. I think Surf's Up's a fun movie that is just kind of a nice like little like being oneself kind of movie. And you know, it's about this kid who wants to be a surfer and he's debatable if he's good at it or not. And he's a big fan of Big Z, played by Jeff Bridges, by the way. And Shia LaBeouf is the main character. And he goes to this island, you know, gets trained by this guy to try to enter in this tournament because he wants to win the tournament. And it's filmed like a mockumentary. And that was something I forgot. And the film does an amazing job of incorporating that mockumentary style into having some really fun moments. Yeah, really enjoy it. It's really well thought out as a terms of like how the film is presented. Definitely would recommend Surf's Up. Next up is Sushi Girl on DVD and Blu-ray. I found the DVD of this at Dollar Tree, and then like a month later found the Blu-ray. So the DVD, I'm gonna figure out something to do with it. But this is a movie with an all-star cast that always seemed kind of interesting to me. I mean, you got Tony Todd and Mark Hamill, which are the big two. But basically, Sushi Girl is a movie where a girl lays on a table covered in sushi while a gang of dudes around her eat sushi off her and talk about the horrible bank robbery crime they committed. And Damien Chazelle, no, not Damien Chazelle. How do you say his name? Damien Demolchin or whatever. The polka dot man from the Suicide Squad is in this. And they kind of talk about how the heist, you know, kind of went wrong. They're trying to figure out, you know, what's going on. The one guy who, I think it's Noah Hathaway, plays the kid from Neverending Story is in this. And he gets released from prison and they're trying to, you know, find out where their diamonds are and stuff. Tony Todd and Mark Hamill eat up this movie. They are both phenomenal in this movie. Especially Mark Hamill. I was really blown away with Mark Hamill. I know he's a fantastic actor, but he was astonishing in this movie. There's not a lot that happens in this movie. Most of it's just dialogue around a table, but it is pretty thrilling and captivating, and would definitely recommend it. Let's go grab some more stuff. Okay. I think I can grab everything else in one little grab. Might be able to. I'm attempting it. I'm attempting it. Carefully. All right. So, at Half Price Books, I found the UK release of Tag on Blu-ray. This is a film by Shino Sono, a director, Japanese director that I really like. He made Why Don't You Play in Hell, Cold Fish, Love Exposure, which it's been on my watch list for years and I want to grab. But this one's also been on my watch list, and this one is okay. I grabbed the UK release because it was pretty cheap at Half Price Books, and I have a Blu-ray ripper that is region free, and it has English subtitles, so that's all I need. So I grabbed it, and after watching it, yeah. So the film follows Mitsuko, who survives a bizarre bus accident where like the bus gets chopped in half, killing everybody, chopping everybody in half. But she bent over to pick up her pencil right at the right time, and she gets chased by this like bizarre paranormal entity, and she kind of hops around from like life, like person to person, life to life, and yeah, it's really confusing. There's a lot going on, and the film doesn't explain itself super well. But you can kind of get the gist of what's going on. But my problem with the movie is like there's not much character development. It kind of just bounces back to back from person to person. And when you have these action set pieces, the scenarios that these set pieces are set in are fun, but there's such bad CGI. There's really bad blood effects, really bad like muzzle flashes, stuff like that. The effects are just incredibly fake looking. It kind of takes you out of the experience. And then on top of that, they use the Walking Dead's theme song in this movie a lot. And so anytime that would play, my first thought is The Walking Dead. So I'm already distracted thinking of an entirely different show than what this movie is trying to do. And so that's kind of frustrating, to say the least. But yeah, other than that, though, pretty good. I would say pretty decent. A lot of his directorial style didn't transfer through, but I'm glad I have it. I'm glad I own it, and I finally saw it. One of the last movies, I would say, for a film, I would say that if you're going to try to take any kind of recommendations out of this list of stuff to watch, Tangerines. Tangerines is an incredible human movie. It just shines such a light of humanity that it's just awesome. So this movie is about I think it's set in the Ukraine, Estonia. Estonian, or where is this set at? In Georgia, maybe? Anyway. But anyway, there's a group of Estonians that live in this village in this area, and everybody leaves except for two. I can't remember their names. It's like I'd have to look it up. But basically, the one is a tangerine farmer, and the other one makes the crates for the tangerine. And the military said, we'll come by and we'll buy up all these tangerines when they're ready to harvest, and they'll make a big profit. So they stay behind. But more so, the main character stays behind because that's where he lives. He don't want to leave his house. And it's a war between the Georgians and the Russians. And a skirmish breaks out right in front of their house and kills everybody but one Georgian and one Russian. And so he decides to nurse them back together. And under his caring and compassion of nursing them back together, it's kind of like debunking, it shows that there's humanity on both sides of war. And no matter what, reasons you're fighting for, you're both human. And it's really, really just thought-provoking and kind of emotional. And it's really, really well done. It builds up these characters really, really well. But it doesn't shy away from the horrors of war and how war develops and how, these soldiers' mentalities are. It's just such an interesting and fascinating movie. And it's like one of those ones, like after the 20-minute mark, next thing I know, the credits were rolling. I was just like, because you just get so sucked up into it and so invested into it. The performances are amazing, well shot, it's well edited. Can't recommend Tangerines enough. Another Dollar Tree grab, They Call Me Jeg. Not watched it, but it's a superhero movie, so I got it. They Will Have to Kill Us First, a documentary of music in doesn't really say on the northern Mali, about how music's outlawed and people will play music through it. The documentary, I want to check it out. It seems interesting. I upgraded Tokyo Gore Police to Blu-ray. Honestly, you don't need to. If you own this on DVD, you don't need to own it on Blu-ray. There's no real special feature bonuses, and honestly, it looks like the Blu-ray rip. It doesn't look much better than the DVD because that's what I meant to say. It looks like a DVD rip because It was probably shot in 480 to begin with. But yeah, there's no reason to own this on Blu-ray. I would have been fine just keeping it on DVD. If you've never bought it, go for the Blu-ray by all means. But if you have it on DVD, you don't really need to upgrade it. I picked up a Tokyo Story. I picked up Tokyo Story on Blu-ray, the Criterion cell. This is one that's been on my watch list for a long time, and I believe this edition is out of print. The movie is not, but I believe this DVD combo pack with like the soft cardboard box is out of print. So I went ahead and grabbed it. Haven't given it a watch yet, but we'll be watching it hopefully sometime soon. Looks great. Up next from the horror pack is Trick, and it's not very good. Has a good premise, but it has a wickedly frustrating ending. It has Jamie Kennedy in it for a moment. Basically, Trick is this guy who kills a bunch of people at this Halloween party. The detective, he goes to escape the hospital. The detective shoots him. He falls off into a cold ravine, and he's never found. His body's never found. Years later, a Trick-style murderer shows up and starts killing people, and they think it's Trick. But how can it be, kind of thing? So they start hunting him down, and yeah, like I said, the ending plot twist is ridiculously stupid, and yeah, not a fan of it. It's kind of disappointing. I picked up Trick or Treat at the Dollar Tree, SP Echo Bridge. Just looks like Dollar Tree horror schlock. Not watched it yet. I picked up Tron from Walmart for like 12 something. I really want to get Tron Legacy. I had never seen the original Tron, but I've seen Tron Legacy a couple times, and I really enjoy it. And honestly, I think Tron Legacy is much better than this. I found this to be kind of boring. Visually, wickedly interesting, especially for the time, being made in the 80s. The computer effects, the way that they saw computers and how computers work is a very interesting take with this movie. I don't know, I just found it to be kind of boring. I mean, in all honesty. But yeah, I'm glad I own it. I need to get Tron Legacy at some point. Not boring. Venus Wars in this sweet box set. This was a movie that when I saw it was getting released looked super interesting, and I pre-ordered it. And then Amazon's like, "Oh yeah, we oversold the pre-order, so you'll be getting it super late." And I was worried I wasn't going to get a copy because it was out of stock for about a month or so. But it's really cool because it comes down with like character breakdowns, like their character models they had for them and stuff, vehicle models and stuff. This really cool, just thick concept booklet and some behind the scenes and stuff like that. Really cool. And then you have the Blu-ray itself of Venus Wars. Basically, this is set up in a futuristic dystopian. When an ice comet slammed into the planet Venus, terraforming it into a toxic atmosphere, into terraforming its toxic atmosphere into one capable of sustaining human life. They began colonizing onto the world. Unfortunately for the colonists, Venus isn't the paradise they dreamed of. Crops are failing, competition for resources intensify, and this army kind of civil war breaks out. And kind of caught in the middle is this like racing biker gang. They all like to race and stuff, and they kind of join the fight for freedom on Venus. And one of those ones, it's very early's anime style. It's like 90s or 80s anime. So if you know what I'm talking about by that style, you know what you're in for here. But I think it's beautiful. It's a beautiful animation style. The animation is stunning. There's a lot of cool action set pieces. And yeah, I really enjoyed it. Soundtrack's awesome too. Up next, one I picked up from Criterion Cell is The Vanishing. This is an awesome Dutch French film. Basically about a girl who goes missing, the main character becoming obsessive about finding his I don't know if it's wife or girlfriend, and the serial killer, or I guess he's not serial, maybe not, shows up, and most of the film is spent with the killer, about how he's planning to kill somebody, and it's very, very unsettling, and it's very good. I definitely recommend it. I also like how you can kind of see her face in the polka dots of this. Yeah, really well made, really good. Definitely recommend it. Up next, one I found at Big Lots, the DVD Blu-ray combo pack, is The Villainess. This is one that's been on my watch list for a long time. I really don't know why I didn't buy it when it came out, but I found it at Big Lots. It's just an action film that looks really fun, and I'll watch it at some point. At that record store, I found Walking Tall, Dwayne The Rock Johnson, and this really cool MVD release. Has this really cool, just clear case. Nothing like super fancy, but still cool. I've never seen the original Walking Tall, but I've always been a fan of this one. Johnny Knoxville's fun. The Rock's fun in this one. Just a nice little fun short thriller. I don't have a lot to say about it. When I saw this, I thought it was cool and decided to go ahead and grab it. Up next is Willy's Wonderland with Nick Cage, the Five Nights at Freddy's inspired, or at least stylized action flick. Nick Cage is a lot of fun in this movie. He does not say a single line of dialogue, but he plays a very unhinged, very what you would want to see out of Nick Cage. A lot of fun, violence, and gore in this movie. And yeah, it's basically he takes on the gig of a janitor at this pizza place that animatronics are evil. And these kids break into it, and he kind of has to save them. But it's a lot of fun. Has some good music, some good stylistic choices. I really enjoyed it. Up next is a Woman in the Woods. So I saw the cover like this at Walmart, $9.96, and then I saw the back of it. I'm in. The description: Fable becomes reality when Jason returns to his father's homeland of the Philippines after his passing and investigates the stories he grew up hearing. Jason wants to honor his father's memory, so he travels to experience his father's native home. Once he arrives, he finds himself living in the myths that his father foretold him as a child. The mysterious Magellan, maybe, known as Woman in the Woods, asks Jason to aid her in her quest to return home on a volcanic island in the Philippines. And so there's no gorilla in this movie. The girl is not the girl that's in this movie. A plane does not crash. On the back of this, there's only one giant. Most of this on the cover is bullshit. It never happens. But the story, the description is pretty accurate. And it's not very good. For one, I've never seen a movie chug frame rates. Any scene that has the big giant in it stutters. I don't know if it's a compression issue, if they didn't render it out properly. My guess is they didn't render it out properly because the rest of the movie runs fine. The dialogue doesn't stutter. It skips frame rates. It literally acts like an unrendered piece of film. And that is hilarious to me. I've never seen a movie do that in my entire life. Yeah, it's not very good. Wouldn't recommend it. You can see strings, like they act like there's something invisible that moves stuff. You can see the strings they pull with it. It's a mess. Up next is the new Guy Ritchie film, Wrath of the Man with Jason Statham, and I love this movie. This movie was awesome. Guy Ritchie's kind of returned to form with The Gentleman, and he brings a much more straight-faced, not very Guy Ritchie-esque style film, but this is a really good heart-pounding film, a good Jason Statham performance, and a good like mystery build up too. Of like what, why is Jason Statham? Who is he? Why is he working for this company? Who did this? Like, because these armored trucks, he gets a job for an armored truck company as a driver, a security guy, to drive these armored vehicles, and they get hit a lot for robbery, and yeah, there's just a nice like mystery to this. Some really intense moments. Definitely recommend. Another one from the Big Lots Man-Eater series, Wyvern. Got to get the sticker off this one. I've not watched this one yet. Probably not going to be very good, but I got it. Picked up from Amazon for $5. You Were Never Really Here with Joaquin Phoenix. This movie is pretty great. Joaquin Phoenix gives a really good, kind of unhinged performance here. Um, I just remember there being some really intense moments in this movie, and I would not mind rewatching this. Directed by Lynn Ramsey, who I think she's the one who did the Ratcatcher. I can't remember now, but yeah, definitely recommend. Another animated one I picked up from Walmart from G Kids is Zarafa. Zarafa. I think I'm pronouncing it right. This was a really cute, really good movie. Um, Basically about a boy who escapes a slave trade. Um, when a guy helps protect them, they find a baby giraffe and they bring it to a king, who the king sticks the baby giraffe in a zoo, and they want to basically kind of break him out. And it's filled with a wonderful cast of characters they come across, really rich in world development, and it's a fun journey. I remember really enjoying this one. Definitely would recommend the Rafa. Up next, another Takashi Miike film that I need to get the sticker off of. Zebra Man. Zebra Man being a Japanese superhero, I guess. Um, there is a second one that I'm gonna have to pick up at some point, but basically, it's a man who believes he's a Zebra Man, which is based off of a short like TV series that was short lived, and he wants to become the new Zebra Man. And when an actual monster from the old TV show shows up, and it's a wacky, just kind of fun comedy action film. I mean, it has Takashi Miike stylings in it, but it's not like super Takashi Miike. And it's like a 2-hour movie that definitely has some dead air, but it was fun. That was it for movies. Now we'll get into the small stack of TV series, and that's it. I finally picked up Avatar: The Last Airbender on Blu-ray. This is my favorite show of all time. Avatar: The Last Airbender being one of my favorite universes of all time. I love it. Love Legend of Korra. We did rewatch this recently because my wife had never watched Avatar front to finish. We're actually going through Korra now because she never watched Korra either. She had watched Avatar but never front to finish, and yeah, that was like my 5th or 6th time watching this front to finish, and it never gets old. Just so good. One of the best shows ever made. Up next, I picked up Infinity Train Book 2. Infinity Train has been just an absolutely phenomenal and stellar TV show. They're up to 4 seasons. I don't know why it takes so long for them to put out the DVDs. I wish they would just put it out on Blu-ray, but I don't know why it's taking so long to put them out on DVD. I'm hoping they continue to do that. They did it for book 1, book 2. Hopefully book 3 and 4 also get it. But now the show's back to HBO Max, and it's just made for HBO Max. So hopefully they'll get some physical releases. But yeah, Infinity Train's awesome. Super good show. Would recommend. I found the Blu-ray of Ip Man Season 1. From my understanding, that's the only season there is of it. And I found the DVD a while back at Dollar Tree. So to find the Blu-ray, I just upgraded it for $1. One that I'm really glad they gave a physical release to, but I'm really upset they didn't give a Blu-ray physical release to, and that is Kipo in the Age of the Wonder Beasts. This show is absolutely phenomenal. It's a Netflix original series. You can watch it on Netflix. Unfortunately, there's no special features with this set, which is really upsetting. And this is season 1 through 3, and the series does have a good ending. It does wrap up nicely. I wish there was more, obviously, because the show is fantastic, but I understand where they ended it at. And if you've not watched it, I would super recommend it. Kind of a post-apocalyptic style world kind of thing. I got from a buddy of mine on the trail of UFOs. This is a mini series documentary on like UFO searching and stuff. I've not watched it yet. My buddy ordered the Blu-ray, and they accidentally sent him the DVD. And they sent him the Blu-ray and told him to keep the DVD, and so he gave me the DVD. I actually think I traded him for the DVD. some like extra stuff I had. I think I like Cheap Thrills and something else. Um, but yeah, so I got this. I have not watched it yet, but he said it's really good, so I'm excited to check it out. And the last thing on this update, and then I'm out of here, is Primal. I picked up Primal on Blu-ray. Primal is Genny Tartakovsky. If I'm pronouncing his name wrong, I apologize. The guy who did like Samurai Jack and stuff. It's his newest series, and I watched the first half of this series. I've not watched the back half yet, but I like how it's just one big artwork. But this show was phenomenal from what I saw so far, so I'm really excited to check out the back half. Just haven't got around to it yet. So, but yeah, that's everything. So for now on, I think that's what I'm gonna do is just do Blu-ray updates on live streams, upload them to the movie channel later, and eventually, when I get more time, I will start doing them the way I used to do them, which is the way I would prefer to do them. But I just ain't got the time for it. So thank you guys for watching this, and I'll see you later. See ya.